Good evening, and welcome to Targeted Massachusetts Northeast Conference and home of the Allen Institute for Human Rights. My name is Frank Allen, and I will be your host for the evening. The views and opinions that are expressed by our listeners are not necessarily the views of Targeted Massachusetts, the Allen Institute, nor myself. It is the goal of this conference to be a place where people who are victims of organized stalking, intimidation, electronic torture, and mind control in all differing forms and from various sources can feel free to openly and safely discuss any of their fears, hopes, strategies, and solutions for themselves, and to offer advice, support, and encouragement for one another. It is understood that some people may not always agree with one another, so let us start this conference with the willingness to agree, to disagree, keeping in mind that we are all adults and that it is more important to support one another than for us to always be correct. Okay, we have a very special guest this evening, and that's Amy Holem. She's here with us, and the floor will primarily go to her, and we are going to start a Q&A. Amy, are you here?
I'm here, Frank.
Okay, I'm not seeing you. Where are you? Are you displaying a picture with your name?
No, I'm not.
Okay, speak one more time.
Can you hear me?
Yep, gotcha. All right, I'll be grabbing you in a second. Okay, Amy, you should be unmuted.
All right. Hi, everyone. How is everyone doing? Can you hear me?
Yep. Unfortunately, they are all muted, and you and I have the floor. So
okay.
Questions will arise as we start the conference. I'm going to give the floor primarily to you, and every once in a while, I'm sure I will have a question. And so we can start. We have 29 guests already, and people are coming in as we speak. So go right ahead.
Okay. Well, my name is Amy Holem, and basically what I do is subliminal acoustic fingerprinting. And what I do is I analyze audios and videos of victims that actually are going through like the V2K, the AI system, synthetic telepathy, and I actually help them prove their situation. But I also help the victims out in different manners as well, like collection of evidence, how to gather fingerprints, how to take pictures, measure wounds, try to get information for your court cases, fill out FOIA requests, and things like that of that nature as well. I do multiple different types of activities. I'm currently helping right now do the TI Day in Florida. So if anybody lives in the Florida area, on August 20 or 9th, we are having the rally out in the Orlando area. So if you're interested, you could feel free to call and contact me. I'm going to give out my email address and my phone number out really quick for everybody. It's amy'saudios.com, AIMEES AUDIOS at protonmail.com. And my phone number is 815-307-4619. Now, lately we've been all talking about unity, joining together, and things of that nature, but I could help you understand like the differences between the different types of equipment that they're using and the different type of weapon systems and how they actually use the weapon systems as well. As for shielding, I only have a couple of techniques that people could use. I do more network configuration, computer configuration. I actually just developed a live USB for everybody. And what this live USB is actually an operating system on its own. So people who are having trouble with hacking with their computer systems, you'll be able to plug this SD card into your computer system, boot up a different operating system than your normal computer system, and that it also has a password management system in there. That's everything is protected documents, encryption, and you'll be able to store all of your passwords onto this password manager system as well. That way nobody could hack into your devices anymore or gain access to your passwords and information too. So I really don't have much to say as for now, because a lot of my helping other targets or other victims in this case is usually going by and answering all of their questions on an individual basis. So if you need help with anything, I don't know, Frank, if that's what you want to do, open up the floor, or if you have any specific questions that you have for me that I could answer for you.
Okay, the way this works is this is Q&A session, and it's live. If anybody wants to ask you a question, all they have to do is raise their hand. There's a number of different ways depending upon whether you're a computer or phone in. But if they can all see how to do it, we are now up to 39 people, 40 people, and we should get some questions in. So if anybody has any questions for Amy, she is a registered professional. She has gone to school for this. She graduated, and she is ready to take your questions. And she has been processing a number of different videos for people. And it's important to know that she is a professional. So she is not somebody off the street who is answering questions. She is someone who will give you accurate information that you may use to proceed in your fight against these criminals. So in the meantime, what's changed, do you think, since the last time that we spoke? I think you were a guest perhaps 3 months ago. I think you have graduated by now. I think you were graduating in June, correct?
Yeah, I actually graduated in May, back in May 11th, but they didn't have the ceremony till about June.
Okay, yeah, that's usually the case. I guess I would like to know, when somebody comes to you and they have a film, we'll say, of them while the V2K is going on, you take this audio apart. How do you do that, and do you use any of the video content to do this?
Well, I actually use the whole file, the whole audio file and the video file for the processing. I do a review of the video. I have to correlate what's in the video, what I'm seeing, what type of information is in there, I actually listen to the top portion and listen for what I call discrepancies. Now, discrepancies are any odd noises, sounds that I hear that are not normal. So like birds chirping in the bathroom, that would be a normal sound, especially if you're outside. So I would notate on the report. As I reviewed the video, I noticed that the victim stepped on the back side of their porch. It is a brown wooden fence all around, wrapped around the whole entire backyard, that the backyard has a fireplace in it, or there's tennis shoes or Converses on the porch and things like that. So when I analyze the audio, if the perpetrators make a comment like, we like those shoes, or we're going to steal them, or we're going to, we're your neighbor across the fence. Now you know that you're seeing a fence. You could correlate that with the house, the pictures and images, and we could also prove video voyeurism and hacking, depending on the device that they use to record the video. So like, let's say you're recording with your cell phone or tablet, right? Those are probably the most common factors that victims have and own to record with. If they're taking the video with their cell phone and it's a picture of a chair and they say, oh, we like that green chair, well, how do they know it's a green chair? They would have to visually see that the chair is green, and making those comments and capturing those comments correlate hacking into the device and using video voyeurism effects. So that's how we kind of prove those statements on there. I can't really tell you my step processes on how I go about it. I currently have a patent in place. So until that patent is released to the public, I can't release how I actually do the analysis and the step-by-step processes. I hope you all understand that. I've nearly paid over $7,000 to $10,000 on this so far, so I only got $2,300 left. So I'd like to make sure that I finish paying it off. That way I get the patent. But I strip down the communications. I try to keep everything in an uncompressed file. And what uncompressed means is usually when you load it into a YouTube or Facebook status, it then becomes compressed. So they're tightening the files up when you're loading it onto different social media platforms. So I take the uncompressed version, which is the original version that it was taken, and I analyze that, and then I strip it down with my special technique, and then I analyze each one by section, by section, by section, by spectrums, and I do spectrum analysis processes with that as well, and I could hear and capture their embedded telecommunications. Now they're embedded because they're using directional antenna systems, or they're actually hacking inside that device. So when they hacked into your device, their comments, their words, their sounds, and their wavelengths get captured. But since they're using subwoofers and for their intercom systems, that is hard to determine because usually subwoofers cannot be picked up on audio. If you ever recorded a concert that had really loud bass in it, you would notice that that bass doesn't come through, but you could hear the singers on the stage through the microphone. Well, that's because bass is at a subliminal level. That's why they call them subwoofers. Subliminal subwoofers. So that also proves that they're using subliminal messaging and subliminal telecommunications off of an FCC frequency as well, because of the acoustic effects that are being used at that level. So that makes them inaudible. But when you replay it sometimes and they're attached directly to that device, their communications are still there. They're just way, way, way down below that nobody could hear or analyze. And you have to do it in a specific manner when you're analyzing it. Otherwise, it won't be considered or used in a court of law. It has to be, you have to have forensic tools with it. I use different types of forensic tools. For the analysis process, I use law enforcement tools as well that they sell to police officers. That's why my equipment's a little bit more expensive than others. But everything has to be done in order. That way we could prove that, and it could be validated into the courts systems.
Okay, Amy, I have another question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Do you have the ability to pick up MAC numbers or IP addresses or serial numbers from the equipment? Now, in today's world, if you print a document, you leave on that document all of the information about the purchase, the machine, all of its serial numbers, MAC numbers, and everything. So I was just curious as to whether you pick up MAC numbers and serial numbers of devices.
Not on the devices themselves, but I do catch bank account information and different ID numbers, law enforcement ID numbers, agent IDs, things of that nature. But what you're talking about is different than the audio analysis. You're talking about digital forensics, which is what I'm certified in. The digital forensic investigations, yes, we would be able to capture IP addresses, be able to trace the account, be able to capture the raw data from the files and the computer systems and the mobile devices on their own. Now, the problem with that currently is I don't have the funding for that. The application and the forensic tool, I'll say forensic tool that I want to use is currently $5,000. Now, if I was law enforcement, it would be about $2,500, but since I'm not a government employee, it costs about $5,000. Now, each tool, forensic tools that you use on your computer system, and there's different ones as well. You could use Cain and Abel, there's Encase, there's FTK Imager. Some of those tools are free, but in order to be used in a court system, you need to have it licensed and certified. Now, licensed and certified means that I took a training course on that tool from the vendor that sold me the tool, and then I'm able to use that tool for investigation purposes. So when I analyze audios is a subliminal acoustic fingerprinting. That's different than the computer system and capturing IPs. So there's two different types of forensics, and well, actually there's multiple different categories of forensics. Like there's video forensics, there's audio forensics, there's mobile device forensics, there's drone forensics, there's fingerprinting, there's blood analysis work. So forensics is a large field. It's just depending on what type of forensics you do and what type of forensics that you're going for.
Okay, I just wanted to address the listeners. Amy is here to receive questions. We are in the middle of a Q&A, and I'm sure people like Marilyn from Ohio would be interested in asking questions. We have 53 people now, and 55, I'm sorry. We're going up and up and up. And I'm sure we have people in here who would love to ask a question. But as of yet, the Q&A is empty. The queue is empty, so I'm very disappointed. Okay, we have a question from @MKUltra on Twitter. Go ahead. You should be unmuted. Okay, @MKUltra is self-muted. Next question is from Norman. Go ahead, Norman.
Hi. Hi. Am I on? What are you?
Yes, you are. You're on, sir.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. I'm Norman Raven, victim of 30 years in writing, and many people, well, some people know of me, but a lot of victims don't. Okay, I have two questions, Amy. You mentioned recording based on some kind of implant or device in people. What happens if there's no device? Can you still record voice or sound that's being projected on someone's head? In my own case, I think, this is 30 years now, that they have a good ability to do head acoustics. So I don't know whether the micro vibrating skull bones or something with electromagnetic energy, and upon that, some kind of that's and upon a carrier or electromagnetic energy, there's some kind of voice content that comes out in someone's hearing, bones, whatever. I don't know the science involved in that. But so can you record? If there's no device, can you record something? Have you done that, or have you tried it? I sure hope and expect that you did. Second question of two questions is: would you be able to play back some of your clearer or audibly clearer examples of things that V2K that you recorded from some people?
Yeah, I actually have a couple of examples on my website page already for everyone. If you'd like, I'm not sure how the speaker system will play out, but give me a minute and I'll pull some up for you. In regards to your second, see, I'm using my computer system, so I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear the audio from my system.
Share your screen.
Okay, I can share my screen. But for your first question, now I tried this on multiple different devices. Now it has to be able to, your device has to be able to record sound. But I have captured them over on 15 to 20 different devices, from USB spy pens to camera systems, camcorders, security cameras, dash cams, GoPros. I've also captured using handheld audio recorders, digital recorders, wave pads like Audacity, different types of applications, the computers, and basically that's about it. But in order to capture the audio, you have to be able to record the sound, because if the device doesn't have sound, I'm not going to be able to hear their communications because it's on silent. So it has to have the sound available. The video doesn't matter. I'll still capture their communications in you. But with the V2K, that's a little bit harder to prove. Now, with the V2K, the problem is I could capture some of it, but I need to know directly what they're saying to you in order to prove those statements, because otherwise I don't know what the V2K is saying to you. Does that make sense? So you would have to physically write down, this is what they're
in my opinion,
I'm just saying in general, because if I don't know what your V2K.
Yeah. In my opinion, it sort of doesn't make sense. I know it's hard to pick out signals if you don't know what you're looking for, but so there are voices being projected on my skull, and other people get V2K, so there's some sound energy there, and you would be able to see some kind of frequency content. Why I don't understand how forensics isn't able to separate everything out, and you could pick and choose what kind of frequency ranges, what kind of families of frequency patterns, if there's such a thing, at your will with the forensic tools.
Well, okay. Well, with V2K, I have to know what the V2K is saying to you. I could pick those out and I could make them individual, but you have to understand there are a compilation of networks involved in here. I could capture up to 4 different layers of communications on a person. So not only am I capturing the V2K, but I'm capturing their secret rooms, the ones that they're projecting the weapons off of. I'm collecting information from their hosting site. I'm collecting information from the drones when they're flying the drones, or airplane communications, or different satellite operations. I'm capturing the frequencies from their even support center units. So to know what is your V2K has to be stated separately for me. It's not that I can't capture it, it's that I need to know what they're saying directly to you. Because how am I supposed to know if the V2K says you're ugly in a normal conversation unless you write that down saying that is V2K?
I would look for inflammatory statements myself. That's just me.
If I'm talking to you right now, how do you don't need someone to tell you what I'm saying to hear me. You can hear the sound waves of my voice coming through the speaker of your computer. So in the same way, there's sound energy. And if someone takes let's say I have an appropriate, and this would be you could tell us what to use. I don't know. If I wanted to record, have a chance, I don't even know how to go about it. If I wanted to have the best chance of recording V2K voice energy that's being projected on my skull, what kind of microphone characteristics could I hope to use? What kind of microphone? And have you had victims who do that? Who hold the microphone to their head against their skull or something, and they're picking something up, and whether they tell you, whether they did tell you or not, what they're saying to them, why wouldn't you be able to sift out some kind of sound energy, even though it's so faint? It's really such a low energy, but it's nevertheless it's there.
I'm able to do that. A lot of the best qualities that I've gotten, it doesn't depend on how expensive the device is. Some people record with a microphone. Some people use a handheld audio recorder. One of the best devices or sound quality that I had was from an Arlo security camera system. The sound was so smooth and so great that it didn't even have digital effects in the background. Now, when he used a handheld audio recorder, because a handheld audio is digital, the digital effects have different qualities too that distort, or actually no, they don't distort, but it converts it from digital analog to digital. That's how they're sorting devices. So the best place that anybody has done it is usually playing the device by their ear. That usually captures the V2K really, really well. It sounds like a lot of people think that it's television playing in the background, but they're heard right there, because the closer you are to that receiver, the better sound quality that you're going to get. So different types of devices have different types of quality to it too. Like Android is still built differently than an iPhone. So they have each component has their own microphone system and stereo system built into their chips and their processors. So that determines the quality of it. Which ones are the best? Usually recording off of a wave pad, I've realized on your computer system is probably one of the best qualities too. The Arlo security camera system. It also depends if they're working on a hosting site or if they're working in a studio too. Are they using one channel or are they versus a 2-channel as well? That makes a difference too in the quality of the audio. So there are small factors and then there's larger factors.
If someone's trying to record off of their own skull, what do you mean by how would they use 2 channels? I don't get it. I mean, you're trying to.
Well, the device is built in to their speaker system. So you're either on a mono or you're using a stereo. So when you're recording it. So are you recording it in a mono or are you recording it in a stereo? That's what makes the difference between 1 channel and 2 channels. A mono just makes one recording where the audio is all on one and covers the whole entire headset, where a stereo system is right analog and left analog. So you'll have different qualities of sound. And that all depends on the specifications of the device, because every device is built differently.
Are you saying that if I hold, it's better if I hold, let's say, one microphone on the right side of my head and another microphone, let's say, on the left side of the head, and if you get signals, get sound recording, detailed frequency analysis from both of them, you can piece together something easier? Is that what you're saying? You could.
No,
well, I'm saying it's just. Oh, go ahead, Frank.
Okay, I just wanted to say that most devices, like your iPhone or your Android, are automatically configured for stereo, simply because if you Bluetooth over to a set of stereo speakers, the stereo matrix will not work unless it is actually configured in stereo. I myself was a studio engineer for sound, so I have a lot of experience in sound myself, but that's what she's in essence telling you.
So a microphone records in stereo from one point, or I guess I don't understand what stereo.
Mic, you can just think in your mind the mic is separate, okay? The device configures the sound in stereo, and I'm talking about just an iPhone or any type of small device, handheld device. Anything else, like a studio mixer, such as what I use here, that is going to use an entirely different process. You can record in stereo, you can record in mono. It all depends upon the system. Right, Amy?
Absolutely right. I'm actually going to share my screen with you now, and I'm going to kind of show you. I don't know if anybody's using it, but do you mind if I share my screen and show that?
Go right ahead. I'm encouraging you to do that so that we can really hear what V2K sounds like from an expert's point of view.
All right. Can you see that?
All right. Hold on a second.
Now, this is just a basic wave pad, but I pulled up the wave pad here to show you the difference between the stereo or a mono and a stereo. So right here, you can see that it's on 2 separate wavelengths here, okay? But when you put them or conjoin them together, they're going to look something like this, where one speaker is one side and the one speaker is on the other side. So that's kind of like the difference between it. Now this is a stripped version already. This is not pre-processed or anything like this. Well, this is just a basic stripping. This is what it sounds like before I start cleaning them up, basically. So you'll hear a lot of digital effects in here. Mm-hmm. That's her talking.
And you mentioned that, Amy, you mentioned that the Arlo security. Amy, you mentioned that. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm looking at your pictures and I'm wondering the Arlo security camera, and you're explaining about the analog digital. Arlo security camera system uses an analog recording technology. Is that? Did you mention something like that? So if I have a microphone that I'm using to record, is there some kind of better way to preserving information so that you can sift through it?
No, because I usually analyze or break them down. So if you have a larger section, I usually break it down into 10-second intervals. Anyway, so if you record an hour long, I'm still going to have to go 10 seconds by 10 seconds by 10 seconds by 10 seconds. In order to capture a full statement of the criminals, usually a person talks and their statements are completed in 10 seconds. So you gather a lot of information in that time frame, but I would still have to break it down from section to section to section. But here, if you notice during the stripping process, that these are all the different types of frequencies that are being captured here. So not only is you hearing what's on top here, but these are all the criminal perpetrators, their information that is being down here. That's when I say I analyze the spectrums. Now we could highlight a specific area and we can like copy and paste it, and then you would only hear that area. But she's kind of talking through here, so it's very, very low. You're not going to be able to hear it unless I actually start cleaning up the forensic process and stuff like that. But this is WavePad. I'm using the Master's Edition. It is licensed software. But each one of those are criminals. But this is not how the original file looks at all. So when I open up the file, the original file, it probably won't, it'll only have her wavelength and when she's talking, and you won't hear the criminals at all. Now, when I go here, some of the ones that I cleaned it up, this is usually a good one. Spit at those perps. So you still hear, like, I don't know if you guys heard that, but you still hear there's a little static and digitalness there. That's because when I'm taking all of that down and going through all of these, it's kind of hard to separate them. Look at the different compilation right here. This is probably 3 or 4 people. Let's see. Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4 people talking just in that small little section. So as you can see, even if you grab a section, it's hard to separate them all individually. So you're going to get a lot of compilation on with each other. Here's another one. Oh, that was kind of low. Oh, I don't know if you could hear that. I tell you to put headphones on because I do analyze them with headphones. So it cuts the noise half off, so I could hear that. Another one, you could hear a lot of, this was taken by a handheld audio recorder, so you could hear it is more digital because it was a digital audio recorder. That was really low too. But here on that one, you could hear there's a lot more going on. Huh?
Was that just a recording or someone on the conference call?
No, that's the files. Like, there's a few, I'm playing the files right now that I've analyzed. But here you could hear different beeps, like part of the radar or sonar machine. You could hear the female. There's a female saying there's an audio tracker on her head. That's the different type of device. They were actually using a speed marker. But you're hearing that the beeps, like it sounds like Morse code. That's because of the type of the device that they were using on it as well. So their communications, there's different ones and different sound qualities. Like I said, each one has a different sound quality to it. So like that static noise, that was actually directed energy weapons. This person had a Faraday cage and was recording inside the Faraday cage. So that static noise in the background was actually the energy weapons hitting and covering up the speech of the attack. So that's why I say there's different qualities, there's different sounding, because each victim does something different. So we have to, I as an analyst, have to analyze everything in between from solar energy flares. And I've captured solar flares too. A lot of it is, now these are all mine, these are not clients, these are me working on different devices and things like that, because I'm a victim as well. So these are all communications grabbed from while I was testing it out within the beginning stages of my career, I guess you might say. That's why I started the analysis, is because I became a victim. So I just figured it all out, I guess, is what you could say. But
okay, I just like to help you answer one of Norman's questions. The most effective microphone in the world, the most sensitive, is called the Blue Mouse, and that is the most effective microphone. I think it's so expensive that you have to lease it. It's not something that you try buying.
I do have somebody that has purchased it, and once they figure out a good recording and test it out, they're going to bring it to me for an analysis. But I can't afford that speaker system, but he can, so we're going to find out. I probably won't hear about a month from now, though.
What's the actual price range in numbers? Blue Mouse microphone?
I believe like $2,500.
Oh wow, that's high end. And what's the reason, the technological reason why it's so good? I mean when I look at microphones, like for example, I have a voice recorder that I bought for hearing lectures, whatever. But so every device it has a frequency specification. The specifications, it has frequency range and a certain sampling precision, sampling characteristics, whatever. So what about the Blue Mouse makes it so special in terms of characteristics? Is it what's so special about it?
It's a futuristic design where it has like noise, other than like noise canceling capabilities. It makes you feel like you're in your own studio apartment, like a recording studio where there's no sound entering in, entering out, except what is capturing your voice. So different companies build different things. So
how can
specifications? I've never really looked into that to find out what makes it so unique.
Yeah,
how could the blue mouse know not to exclude V2K? It could think that it's some kind of noise to cancel out.
That's why it's an experiment. I don't know yet. Until that guy sends me the audio, we don't know anything.
Okay. Yeah. My experience is a device is raw. When I look at technology, looking for raw, the best device's best ability to collect raw data without any filters, without or minimal filters, or the filters had better be far away from any energies that ever intersect with what human voice energies look like.
Well, directed energy weapons have a unique sound. The same thing that solar energy has a unique sound. Every device, radio frequencies, static has a unique sound. Interference, electrical interference has a sound, whether it's a vibrating. Engine startings, when the starter doesn't start, it has a unique sound. So everything has a unique sound. And since I capture multiple devices and multiple weapon systems from one client to another, or one victim to another, I also make comparisons with those noises and those sounds to verify that that comes from that type of weapon system.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Sounds, it gives me an idea for someone to really, to I don't know.
From clicking a mouse to clicking a link, from hearing beeps in the background. Even sonar has a specific ding sound to a submarine sonar radar. So even finding those sounds, like if you're hearing a ping, ping, ping in the background, you could usually tie that or find those sounds and noises through military equipment or videos or things like that and make comparisons, and then it's kind of like voice recognition as well. So you're making a comparison of one sound to another sound and verifying that that's the sound of the device that it comes from.
Yeah, Amy, excuse me, Norman. I was just going to say that back in, we'll say, the middle 80s, early 90s, the way that we did this was if you wanted to isolate a sound, first you would use a graphic equalizer and find the area that the sound was in, and then separately record that one area, and then flip it all back on the entire graphic equalizer and find out in a more specific way, using like 15 or 20 different channels, to find out another area, and you keep flipping it and flipping it till you get the exact frequency range that it is being spoken at. And this involves sometimes speeding up the tape machine or slowing the tape machine down. See, we were 16 tracks on half-inch tape back then. But go ahead, Amy. I just wanted to slip that in there. Now, today, Amy can do it in 32 channels or however many she wants.
I could actually get 100, but during the analysis process, I'm sharing my screen again for everybody again. If you notice, if we highlight this area, you can see the frequency range right up here, the notes that they're using, and the hertz that they're using, along with the decibel level and the range. Because the average hearing level is 60 decibels for a human, where these, each little section that you highlight has its own level and range of communications. So when you do the analysis process, there is a lot more going into it and finding more, and that also deals with the tones too. Like for the tone generators, right? You could type up tone generator. If I find tones, and we could play that specific hertz from the audio analysis portion, and I would get the same tone that they're using. So if they were connecting to your body or using a tone generator to attach to a microchip, we could make a comparison with that tone and know that it is the correct level. See how they have different ones: hearing test, noise generator, instrument, sweeps, voice. You could use most of this on here for a lot of the audio analysis, and that's how we verify, or at least that's how I verify weapon systems and tones and things that they're hitting people to attach to specific people's bodies, because we do capture them in different locations and stuff like that during different types of analysis and things like that of that nature.
Okay, Norman, you can get back in line if you would like to ask another question, or you feel that your question should be answered in more in depth. We can come back to you if you like. But we have another caller. We have actually several callers behind you, and I'd like to get on to those. Do you have one last question you'd like to ask?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, sorry, I had to step away.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, I had to step away. Actually, I wish you could repeat how you used to isolate a sound, that three-step process there. If you could so repeat that, could you repeat that with a little narration of what you're doing? So use it. You said use a graphic equalizer. So what's a graphic equalizer? Could you sort of just give a conceptual narration of
Okay, a graphic equalizer will start out flatlined with no equalization. Okay, so what, in the case of what we're looking for here, we're looking for where this voice is, we'll say, in the spectrum. Once you find it, okay, you re-record that area, okay, and then play that back with all of the graphics in front of you again, and mix it down to add bass to the voice, to add definition to the voice, so that you can more properly identify it. So it's this is the old school process before computers.
It's like it looks like, it sounds like to me, the only analogy, it sounds like to me, if you have a signal scanner or whatever, a signals receiver, and I maybe have some devices like this. So it's the same process. So you declare a frequency range of, let's say, whatever RF, whatever that you're trying to pick up, and then you hone. You focus in, so it's scanning, let's say, a narrow frequency band range, and then you find particular sub ranges of that range that are being used, and you focus in on those individually. Whatever it sounds similar to what you were describing, which makes sense. But I had an observation, Amy, about this. So there's a difficulty here. Your conventional methods where you sort of know what you're looking for, or know the types of things you're looking for, with V2K, I don't know that the V2K that I hear is of the same flavor, so to speak, as the V2K that some other V2K victims hear. I mean, victims, they describe, they're talking to me, and they describe it, but I don't know that it's the same flavor. V2K. I don't know that.
Norman,
Yeah.
sometimes you can take something that's squeaky and slow. See, in my case, it was a $10,000 recording machine put out by Fostex, and it was a 16-track machine, but you could slow it down. So if you had something that was squeaky, you could go ahead and slow this tape down and actually bring it into the range of a normal voice. Do you follow me?
I'm hearing. Okay. Yeah. I'm hearing normal voices, but they sound. To be honest, they sound a little tinny, if that's the word for it. There's a little tinny to it, or maybe it's just my hearing, how it comes out on my hearing. So it has a little, or maybe it's because they're creating the sound by vibrating my skull bones, and my skull bones have a tinny type of vibration to it. I don't know.
Most V2K actually occurs around the person and not necessarily within the person's head. You see, your cochlea in your brain is a very complex sound system on its own. And what they have done is they have taken advantage of that complexity. And they are sort of using your brain as a mixing board, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
This is coming.
Well, I'd like to add on that, Frank. It's not. It does. A lot of it is through the cochlea, through the medial cortex, through the brainstem, and travels down the spine. That is true. But there are some people with microchips still inside their body, and even use sensors for the attacks of their weapon systems too, as well. We can capture their microchips and their information, and because I do have my degree in digital forensic investigations, I could prove that using BCI and HCI technology.
Could you say what those acronyms are, if you would?
BCI is brain-computer interface, and HCI is human-controlled interface systems.
Okay, the BCI I was familiar with. I just did not understand the second one. Okay, thank you.
HCI is usually your speech-to-text coordinations, usually for the disabled people, through the microphones. That's usually why, like social media, when you hear them, if you're making a talking about buying dog food and then an ad shows up for dog food, those are all considered HCI components.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to comment, Frank, on something you said about them when people hear sound. Do you remember if someone were to ask me, where is the sound coming out in your head? And they do have the ability to throw sound, so to speak, as if my head was an acoustic chamber, and if they wanted to, they could cause me, and they do this with many victims, by the way, to cause a victim to think, someone said there's nobody around, and they think that someone said something, as if you had someone throwing their voice or something. So I believe that in those cases, they're using something like head acoustics. They're causing the sound to come out. Maybe they're vibrating a part of the skull from one in the back of the skull versus the front of the skull, the side of the skull, whatever. So there's a certain head acoustics. But I was going to comment on what you said. So if someone were to ask me, where do I hear the voices, whatever, and I would say, I would point to actually what. And I had the answer. I maybe drew on a picture, whatever, of where the voice comes out before I ever saw the Frey article. So in the Frey 1962, I think it is article, you have a little picture. Do you remember it? Where the voices came out. Where the voice energy came out on people's heads. So they have a little area just above and slightly forward of center of each ear. So maybe you could find online. You have the Frey article, the Dr. Frey article.
I'm actually going to explain that to you. Okay, so what they're using is a programmable keyboard. And since they're using intercom systems, too, with microphones and headsets, they are using voice boxes, voice modules, and voice changers. Now, what I mean by that is they're able to program these effects. So when you're speaking into a microphone, you could actually change the sounds. Now, as you see, this is why I use WavePad to show a lot of it, because of the different types of that it has, because each of those people could talk like, I could sound like a child, I could sound like a male, I could sound like a teenager if I wanted to, I could sound like an astronaut or R2-D2. They could cause alien effects. So when people are hearing and explaining their reactions, it's talking about it's aliens behind the technology. Well, no, they're using special effects to cover up their voices. A lot of them get the chipmunk effect. A lot of them get different cartoons from Daffy Duck to, and all you'll hear is the person talk like Daffy Duck. So they speak into the programmable keyboard, and they're able to record conversations. So even like conversations from your mom, your dad, your brother, your uncles, your next door neighbors, to force you to think that those people are involved when they're really not involved. So I could come in here, make a new recording, and use that in well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Amy, that's very...
Use that in a recording and put that into the keyboard system, and I could actually program my keyboard to do specific effects. Like I could program the F key to fast forward or G to reverse it. I can program the keyboard to make it sound like an airplane flying overhead. So when you think it's an airplane, it really isn't an airplane. But that's how I also tell the difference from real to not as well. Because a real airplane, you'll hear it on top of the audio, where subliminally you won't hear it. So if you're hearing police sirens, they could program police sirens in there. And I usually hear information like, where the police were coming to get you, and then you'll hear sirens. That's the AI system. That's the program. That's part of the V2K system that's all developed into it. So that's where part of the analysis comes from, too, because they're falsifying and they're pretending.
Okay, I would like to comment
officers,
on that,
which is actually a federal offense to impersonate an officer.
Can I interject something? Okay, back in the 70s, there are two musicians that you should actually listen to, and that is Jeff Beck and Peter Frampton. Now, Beck invented what he called the Beck bag, and what it was an Altec Lansing loudspeaker driver, and he put a clear plastic tube on it and put the tube in his mouth. And Peter Frampton used it in a song called "Do You Feel Like I Do?" Well, that's effectively what that was. And it is actually what you are explaining, only it's a different way. It's something that you can understand. So the sound was going into Peter Frampton's mouth, but he wasn't saying anything. He was just mouthing and letting the sound coming from the tube do the talking. He just mouthed the words. Okay, I'm done.
Okay,
I gotta grab some coffee.
You could say so he was speaking through a trumpet. No, he was speaking through. I wanted to comment on.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to comment about that. Amy, it's very, very interesting that you sort of put together some of the techniques. They really have a lot of victims are targeted by what I would call deception technology, or government people putting on skits. This is something that's not mentioned by so many victims. It's as if they have a CIA acting group training ground or something, and they put on skits that they do. They'll 1 minute you have someone pretend you're the president, and pretend as if you're the president watching this victim, or as if you're this rock star or movie star watching this victim. What would you say to him? And they'll have this voice. The voice might be altered, whatever, to cause the victim to think that, oh, it's the movie star, it's the president, whatever. But aside from that, and there are some fancy things, by the way, that go on there. They stimulate. They have the ability to stimulate the part of your brain which thinks about a person. So let's say if I have a conception of my conception of a particular victim, a fellow victim, or if I have a conception of a family member, whatever. So they'll stimulate the part of the brain that corresponds to my idea of this person's voice, at the same time that they're transmitting their fake voice. And so I'm just saying that they have things like that. Okay, they're fancy things like that. But I also wanted to comment, though, aside from the deception technology, though, I want to say I reasonably believe that sometimes they don't really use deception on victims, that more or less they're speaking through a microphone, and more or less it's coming out as best as your skull acoustics could sort of reproduce their voice as they speak. I actually don't know it. I'm not sure that I would be right, that I would be correct about it. But I actually think that if I met the person, some of the persons in person, that maybe I wouldn't be able to recognize the voice, but I would sort of recognize the voice patterns, or the way that they speak, even if the frequency. So let's say the ability of my skull to vibrate in a certain manner uses all kinds of frequency details, whether it's low or high, whatever. So my skull, let's say, I wanted to mention, you said the skull has the human hearing system. So when I'm saying voice of skull, so if they have the head acoustics, the micro vibrations on my skull are coming out into my cochlear for me to hear the sound. So it really is in a sense skull acoustics. So they're projecting voice, let's say, to a particular part of the skull, or to have more vibrations in a particular part of the skull than another part of the skull. So when it reaches the cochlea, my cochlea deciphers as, the voice is coming from that direction because the part of the skull that was vibrating more was in that direction of the skull. But I feel that there's also a lot of just what I said, straight use of microphone to person's skull, even though you don't get the true acoustics coming out in your own skull because your skull isn't made that way. It's
that's because there's different recordings. There's grouping, and there's group hosting sites, and then there's the studio. So if it's only one or two, it's usually going to be on a studio system. Where if it's a group of network, like working on a DNS and a cloud service, it's going to be more of digital effects. And if that's the military, that's what makes it the difference between your neighbor and the military doing it to you. Or maybe an ex-boyfriend or an ex-husband or an ex-wife that wants to get even with you.
Yeah, I substantially allege that it's really the government with all kinds of tools doing it, that in very few cases are there actual neighbors targeting a victim. That's my take on hearing many victim stories. It's very rare that a victim would actually know their handlers or their surveillance team. That's my opinion and experience, but not that there might not be a few exceptions, but that's I think you're concluding that way too, right?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
Your take on the crime against victims, that it's very rare that an actual neighbor is targeting a victim, but rather it's the U.S. government mimicking a neighbor or coming off, putting on a skit, trying to convince the victim that their neighbor is doing it.
No, each victim is different who is behind the system. Some are neighbors and some aren't. I just did an audio analysis where the neighbor was videotaping the other person. So, it was the neighbor that was involved in the targeting. They were also part of a human sex trafficking ring.
Okay, Norman, we have to move on.
Okay. Thank you very much, Frank, and thank you very much, Amy.
And Norman, you can get back in line again. I've just got a bunch of people that would like to ask a question, and we aim to let everyone speak who would like to. And thank you very much for your contribution, Norman. And thank you, Amy, for yours. And next we have wireless caller. Oh, I'd just like to say before we move on is it's a digitally sampled voice. You can this is available back in the early 90s, and all you need is a few seconds of someone's voice to sample it and use it as Amy said. Okay, wireless caller, you're unmuted.
Hi, this is Missy. Can you hear me?
Go right ahead.
Hey, I've got a question.
Go right.
I was a heavy TI at one time, and everything is stopped. I mean, completely stopped. But they said it was a federal investigation in the streets. What happens now? They got the results, or everything's been investigated. So, I mean, what happens now? I mean, are you still a TI, or no?
I'm still a TI. I'm still in a victim. Are you talking about what happens usually after the audio analysis for victims?
Yeah.
In general?
Yeah.
Okay.
The audio analysis.
Okay. People use them for different things. Some are using them to fight workman's comp. Some are proving that their bosses and stuff are behind the technology and the harassment. Some are trying to fight different legal purposes, like false medical diagnoses from being thrown inside a mental institution.
That's great.
Some have private investigators and lawyers already standing by. Now, that all depends on the lawyer situation and the information. When it comes to my audio analysis reports and into the court system, usually there's an investigation process in between. My reports are more used for law enforcement purposes than court, just because of the information I collect and gather. Like, let's say I find a name involved with during the analysis process. The law enforcement officers usually have to do a background check to find out if those names tie into anything or anyone. And like, let's say I find them using a platform like Trumpet, okay? It's a social media platform. They have to go in and get a warrant for that social media app for that person to start investigating and look at their messages and who they're conversing with So you make sure that you get the right person. So a lot of those techniques, they still have to be investigated too. A lawyer could subpoena evidence based off of that information that I find. Like for one instance, I found the Targeted Federation the other day. There's a specific targeted federation that is run by the Air Force that is involved with the targeting program. So you would have to fill out FOIA requests to see if you're on that targeting list. So there is other step processes. It would be used in the court as a basis to show that you gathered evidence and need for warrants and subpoenas, as well as how you collected the evidence for your court case too. So there's multiple reasons that can be used. I've had some members even use the reports to tell their family members. I would do an analysis for them, then I would sit down with their mom and dad and talk with the victim and their parents over the phone and answer their questions, kind of like what I'm doing with you guys in the Q&A. So there's multiple different uses, multiple different purposes that you could use the report for. It depends on just what you want to use it specifically. Some people have gone to media outlets. Another person went to Best Buy and showed the hacking department. The hacking department or Geek Squad took a copy of the report. They photocopied it, and then they sent it all out through all the Best Buys. So now they know kind of different techniques and things like that, what they're looking for with these particular devices. Another person sent it to Apple, and Apple is doing an investigation now to where they are trying to make their system more secure based off of the hacking information I got from the person using the iPhone. So it all depends on which way you go. Some officers refuse to help them anyways, which is sad. Another person that I helped, it realized it correlated with her being a witness for a grand jury trial.
Now,
well, the people who were targeting her was...
Or are you in law enforcement? Are you in law enforcement?
But the person that I have law enforcement experience. I was in the military. I was an MP in the military in the Army. I was an Explorer program from 16 to the age of 21, and then I dispatched for the local law enforcement and for Water Patrol.
Wow, you know a lot about the targeting. You're nailing it. Now, like they told me it was illegal what the feds did. I had an attorney tell me that. Now, there was some attorneys involved in the case, but virtually I was told the case got destroyed because I kept disappearing. I was on the move for 10 years. I kept moving around. And, but, I mean, it followed, though. It went interstate, the case. But, I mean, is there like a lawyer standing in the background waiting, or because I mean it was illegal what happened, and I got injured, and I'm just curious. Each lawyer is specific in their field of what they actually do. So like bankruptcy lawyers, financial lawyers. I mean, is it a civil case? Is it a family dispute? Is it so you would have to find a lawyer. A lot of them just keep calling and are persistent, and that's how these people are finding lawyers. What happened? They told me that. Oh gosh, I'm hitting a blank. What do you call it? They told me that the guy who was doing it, all the targeting, that he was famous and on TV, and he's on a ranch, and if I knew the name of the ranch, I would know who he was. And I've had 3 people say it was millions of dollars of cocaine sitting on a table. I mean, it's similar to a crankcase, I think, or Y2K or the MK Ultra. I do know that the NASA base was involved, and I guess that's the Air Force at the time, but they were heavily involved. And there was an insurance company with big intimidation that I mean, it's bad what happened. It really is. But, I mean, it's 10 years old now. And I went back to the place where it started. I've been back to both places, 2 different cities where it started. And I heard the cities were fighting over it. But that was like a year and a half, 2 years ago. What I'm curious is, I mean, is there like a hidden lawyer? Because they said the original lawyer will get all the paperwork. And they went over. I had a 50-year background check, and they went over everything when I was in Pittsburgh. I'm back in Mississippi now. But the NSA, I know they were heavily involved, and it was bad what happened. But it turned, like, since the investigation went in the street, it turned dangerous, because it attracted felons. I'm just curious, since my life got destroyed, and I kept bouncing back for a while.
You could always reopen that case if you find new evidence based off of it. So a case could always be reopened.
Oh, that's good. Well, they told me that I now have when they put me in a mental hospital, when I was it turned into a big civil lawsuit after all the targeting, but there was a third party that remained in the middle. The Fed said I was haunted, so that means they followed because I was haunted. I also had a cyber stalker, and it was a computer virus, and nobody knew how to handle it. But they took it offline now, I guess, because they solved the computer virus. But Geek Squad, the Geek Squad got my desktop, and the cyber stalker was on my desktop. And then it went to my laptop. But I went through like 9 computers in a period of 10 years. They were purposely keeping me offline. But I even ended up in the streets with a guy that was involved. And my statute of limitations is coming on that because I traveled with him for 7 years. And he was on the tape because he would make comments about this. He'd yell out, "You killed Mary," or "Joe died," or he'd yell out something about the case, and things that were recorded at my old house that only that not too many knew what was said on the tape, but he knew. He'd make comments. He'd make a comment here and there for 7 years, but I'm curious if, what do you call it? I mean, they got away with it, am I right? They got away with everything?
No, I mean, it just depends on the determinant of the case, I guess. Yeah, if you find new evidence based off of that, you could still do a prosecution.
Yeah, the third party has all the evidence. Tyco. There's a Tyco.
You would have to subpoena that, and you would have to subpoena that evidence. If they have copies and records of that evidence and you know who that third-party contractor is, then you could subpoena that evidence. You could even, by law, FOIA request that evidence.
Yeah, but there are so many people involved, it's hard to pinpoint. I mean, I got witnesses. I mean, there's a ton of witnesses and everything that happened, but it's the people you don't know. So
right. During the investigation, right, but during the investigation for you personally, you would want to start in the here and now of what is occurring now and relate it to what happened in the past. That's the only way that you're going to be able to bring what happened in the past back into the forward, into the future.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but that was really bad what happened. You know, I mean, I was taking hits left and right, and they continued. But I know there was a sheriff that was involved, and he went to prison for embezzlement, and I guess he still has deputies, you know. But I'm just curious that what happens after all this illegal story, and you know, and then when it's just you. I even saw a dead guy in Georgia. They brought me to a house, and a cop a cop said was there, and there was a sign that said police parking. And I had an insurance appointment with him in Georgia. And he was just laying in the living room. It was the same guy who threatened me with duct tape. That was the head honcho of Inspirit Insurance Solutions in Roswell, Georgia. And they said that was headquarters, but he flat out threatened me. And I swear that was him dead laying in the house in the living room. They said no judge, the old talk show, they said no judge wants to go under investigation. And then 2 months later, a judge committed suicide. The judge in my case committed suicide. And, I mean, it was just, I counted 14 bodies in this whole thing, people that were involved that have passed on now. It's just weird.
That is really weird.
Yeah, it's weird. The whole thing is unbelievable. That's why it's hard to get any help.
Okay, do you have any more questions for Amy?
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much, wireless caller. Next we have Anonymous. Go ahead, Anonymous, you're unmuted.
Hi, Amy. Do you have a website?
Yes, I do. It's www.amysaudios.com.
Okay.
I'll put it in the chat for you. It's AIMEESAUDIOS.com.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
AIMEESAUDIOS.com.
Okay, thank you. And then do you have any recommendations for, like, shielding? Because, like,
Go ahead.
well, I don't know where to start. I don't like getting attacked constantly.
There's different types of effects, usually that could help with the shielding. It depends on what type of weapon system that they're using. Linkstat is a good one. It helps dampen it, but nothing stops it. I'm working on making something rubber, because rubber, it will actually stop a lot of the effects depending on it. That's in the testing sequences right now. You could buy the EMF paint. I'm working on, me and my friend Michael are working on recreating the EMF paint so everybody could purchase that and buy the products themselves. Grounding techniques usually help with that too. Lying on the cold ground, ice packs also help too when you put the ice packs on your feet for the electrical currents going through your feet. Shielding, there is nothing that stops everything 100%. And since every victim is different, using the different types of technology from like nerve generators to oscillators to the V2K and the AI systems, nothing is 100% going to stop it until we figure it out. There are some things that you could do within your own network and router configuration if you have a computer system or mobile devices as well. I've learned that disabling your 5G on your router, if you're using a wireless router, you want to keep it on the 2.4, but disable the 5G helps really, really well. Lowering the bandwidth also in your router does too. Controlling and configuring it to known IP addresses to unknown IP addresses and putting a firewall in between. That way you block unwanted access into your devices too. Those are all helping. Right now I just created the live USB, like I said earlier, for everybody, is that it's a separate operating system. So what you do, they'll be in your regular laptop or computer system and you have a separate device that's encrypted that they can't get into or gain access to, and that's your own operating system. So it's more of a virtual system, but you'll still be able to use like the internet and answer your emails all in privacy to where they can't hack it. So there are small things like that that can make significant changes for people, but in the long run, there's nothing 100% that stops it completely yet. I'm working on that, but there's a lot of things
like a Q wave or something it was called.
Q waves does not work. That works on the scalar waves, and that actually only helps with your energy levels. It doesn't block any of the radio frequencies that are coming in, because scalar waves and radio waves are completely different. You would need a signal jammer.
Which I can't get because I'll look like a criminal.
No, that's not necessarily true. Signal jammers aren't illegal. You're able to own a signal jammer. What's illegal is you blocking the signal of your next door neighbors or air traffic control. As long as it's in your own home, that signal jammer is usable. You could also use a white noise generator too. They're a little bit more expensive. I think a white noise generator could be anywhere from $250 to $1,000, depending on what you type of buy. But it stops people from eavesdropping. So basically, that's what a noise generator is it blocks everything out within that certain thing so they can't hear your conversation. That won't necessarily help with the V2K, but a noise generator will stop like eavesdropping devices.
Amy, can you clarify for me the difference between RF and scalar?
I'm not sure. Scalar energy has to deal more with quantum physics, where radio frequencies are your towers that everything is built off of. So everything uses radio frequencies, from satellite communications to drones to mobile devices to vehicles. Those all attach through radio communications. Usually it has to deal with the different types of landline they're using, whether it's on a WAN or an LAN or a PAN. There's different, usually radio frequencies only also transmit on an 802.11, but that could be anything. That's all your wireless and your Bluetooth frequencies. Scalar waves I don't get into. I am not a quantum physicist. I'm not even going to pretend to understand that. So I do not go into that topic. So if you are more familiar with that, by all means talk about scalar waves, but I deal more with radio frequencies.
Okay, Anonymous, does that conclude your questions?
No, I have plenty more, but I will reach out to her on her website, hopefully. Thank you so much.
Okay, you can get back in line again if you would like to. That's not a problem either.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, we have Jack Ryan. Go ahead, you're unmuted.
Hey, Amy. Thanks for doing this. What would you recommend for people who get just remote neural monitoring, like the alternating pressure in the ears, but not the V2K, or the chirping and the ringing? I mean, but mine started with just it's pressure in the ears. It's like an ice pick in the ear. That's how it started. Now it's just like somebody constantly poking me in the left ear and the right ear. How would you go about recording that? Because I did measure it with an EMF detector, and it's just so slight. It's so slight. So would you even suggest trying to record it?
Absolutely. I've captured anything from tinnitus to the readings in the ear to Morgellons disease, Parkinson's, what else? Anxiety, depression. All of those are using different types of technology. Now, the bird chirpings would be considered part of the computer programming like I was talking to you. They're still trying to cover up their voices, but they're still broadcasting using radio frequencies. So whether it's a directional antenna systems with all radio towers have installed into them, all they do is have to move the device and get a better signal for it, or at least be able to transmit from one device to another. You also have your mobile devices and things like that also have that all installed into even your vehicle has radio frequencies attached to it. Yeah. So even recording it, absolutely, you could still record it, and we would be able to capture more of the communications, but that's the difference between the V2K, because I wouldn't be able to hear them calling you stupid or ugly or fat or like we're going to murder you or things like that of that nature, which are usually part of the AI system and the programming. Remote neural monitoring is just more of them tracking and tracing, and usually they do that using a DAQ system. And what a DAQ system, DAQ system is, it is usually uses a mobile device or like an IP address, and it could actually attach to that. And what they do is use plugins and different modules into that DAQ system, and they could do certain things, like they could get thermal imaging. They can do body sensors. So if you sneeze or cough, they would know. They would be able to censor your EEGs or your heart rate. They would be able to do remote viewing and remote listening. So anything that is a microphone can turn into a speaker. So the same thing works in reverse for one another. All it is a different type of code and script that they put into the terminal or your PowerShell or your command prompt, pretty much, which is usually how coding and script works. And they change that, and they add that in so they could create those effects to you.
Have you ever recorded somebody that had remote neural monitoring and been able to pick up any audible voices?
Yes, absolutely. Because remember when I'm talking about the different network layers? Well, I'm still able to capture their network inside of it. Yes. So I'm capturing their communications, talking back and forth to each other more instead of talking to you.
So what is the alternating pressure in the ears? What have you, I mean, maybe I'm not describing it the same way others have described it, but it's like, you know, somebody like just sticking their finger in your ear briefly, but just all day, every day, like every 10 seconds.
That would be the radio frequencies coming in and out, usually depending on how many people are joining in the network or coming out of the network system. So that's what you're hearing is the pressure, because as you add more people in, the pressure is going to build. As people leave, the pressure is going to decrease because you're not running as much pressure on into that ear canal. So basically that has to deal with signal channeling too and frequency hopping. And the tinnitus is actually the tone generators like I showed you guys on my screen. They need to be able to gain access, and some use a specific tone depending on the different type of RFID chip or the sensor that is being used. They have to play a tone to connect to it, so therefore you hear that tone in the background.
Yeah, I only hear it sometimes. It's very strange, and the chirping only sometimes. But anyway, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm on your website right now.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have Marcus. Go ahead, Marcus. You're unmuted. Marcus?
I'm not there.
Okay, next we have Anonymous. Marcus, we could not hear you. I don't know what's wrong with your system, but it sounded like you were in the bottom of a barrel. Okay, Anonymous, go ahead.
I'm just wondering if she's ever worked with Dr. Hall, John Hall.
No, I have not.
That was it. That was my question.
Okay, Redding, California. Go ahead.
Okay, I haven't been on the whole call, so I don't know what the scope of this is, but I'm wondering if you have worked with energy weapons and microwave weapons such as have been used on our ambassadors in the embassies.
No, I have never really worked directly with them. No, I have never done that before in the past. But I have analyzed their audios and videos that they have released to the public. Like, for instance, the one with the Chinese and the Cuban diplomats on there. Usually that one was actually, somebody brought up to my attention, was created by the FBI as an example. Well, when I analyzed it, that's why I captured all the FBI communications and their information from their office, is because what they were doing when they created it, they trapped those sounds and statements in the background too. So I never personally have worked with any of them from the embassy or any of the doctors that they have placed in, like Dr. Hoffner out in Miami. I've reached out to them, but I never ever got any responses.
Okay, I'm trying to find out more. It's so mysterious, but I've got a personal involvement in it, I believe, with what's happened to me, and so I'm trying to find out more about what frequencies they're using and what they're using to generate it with. You know, just trying to figure out what might have happened to me.
So, wait, you've tried contacting any of them?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I'm a little confused. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just because I believe I have sustained a really similar hit to what those Havana victims went through. I'm trying really hard to find out what kind of waves they might have used on me, what frequencies, and what kind of equipment, et cetera. How this might have happened to me. That's kind of what my question was about.
Okay, I have captured actual directed energy weapons. A lot of them also say directed energy weapons too. Some use different types of equipment. That all depends on what they're using. But I have captured directed energy weapons with about 7 to 10 victims. Out of 300, only directed energy weapons were worked on 7 to 10. That I captured. Satellite communications was about 5 of them. Drones, I probably have about 30 of them. So different types of energy weapons, different types of weapons. I caught the LRAD system, long-range acoustic device, which is also a form of directed energy weapons. I've captured 4 or 5 people with laser weapon technology, motion-to-motion capture, which is usually your picture-to-images information when they're saying they're putting pictures in people's head. That's called motion-to-motion capture. So I am capable of identifying the noises, the attacks, and the weapon systems. Problem is, if they're not talking about it, or if they're not making of those statements, or if they're not attacking you while you're recording, I'm not going to gather any of that information. So they have to be attacking you at that time when you're recording.
Okay, I see. Yeah, is there, do you know if that's something that can be measured, like if a person has a meter of their own?
Not directed energy weapons. No, I'm not aware of any different types of devices. The RF frequency ones, they have the EMF readers that can be captured and used on you. There's different ways that you could tell by even using the AVR cables in the back of your TV too. So each one is a little bit different in that concept, how to prove it. But directed energy weapons, I have only the sounds and the audios to verify it, and the physical statements and the technology to prove with the use of the RF signals.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. All right. Well, thanks. I think that kind of answers that for me.
Okay. Thank you, Redding, California. Next we have caller. Go ahead.
Hi, Frank. Thank you.
Hi.
There's a couple. Hi, I have a couple questions that I want to ask you. Have you ever heard of anything called X-ray imaging, where they can look in your body? I heard you mention something where they could measure your heartbeat and different things like that. And if so, can you give me the name of that technology?
Well, usually that they use EEG equipment, medical software equipment, to use that when they're data processing. So when they're making the attack on you, they have installed medical equipment and software into their computer operating system. So when they make the attack using a link, a person clicks a link, and that charges the weapon system, and it hits the person wherever they're aiming that weapon at. And what it does is collect that information from your body, then it sends the packets in that data and information back to their computer screen, and they could analyze the data from there. So that's what they do. It's really not X-ray imaging. What they're doing is it's medical equipment software that they're using that is able to pick up from, remember when I was talking about the DAC system, the different modules and plugins that they could use? Okay. Yes. So it's kind of the same concept. They're attaching to a chip or a sensor, and they're able to collect that information from that chip and sensor and send it back. So they could use a plug-in to do thermal imaging or body imaging and sensoring a person's body and collect that person's heart rate, EEG readings, which is and their blood pressure, which is why you hear a lot of the V2K patients or victims say they know when I'm telling the truth. While a lie detector test in law enforcement charges your EEG, your heart rate, and your blood pressure. So they can tell if a victim is lying or telling the truth by those key signatures. So that type of equipment and data is transferred back to their software, and they could analyze the software and the data right then and there live.
Amy?
Wow. One more question. What about heterodyning, the sexual torture that women, as well as men, they go through now? How are they able to do that? And is there any technology where we can find out a certain signal or something where they're either attempting it, doing it, or after it?
I don't know what heterodyning is.
Okay, that's like the sexual threat to the human body. They manipulate your sexual organs in a way that causes you to feel very uncomfortable.
Okay, that would have to deal with the nervous system. Frank was talking about the cochlea, right? Well, through the nervous system, it attaches down to the brain stem. And the brain stem and the spine actually go down, and the nervous system all correlate, because your spine is actually protecting your nervous system. And then the nervous system actually goes out to the different areas, whether it's your breast, your stomach, and your private areas, right? So the electrical currents then charge into that specific area of the brain and region that they're aiming at, like your medulla oblongata, right? Did I pronounce it? Sorry.
Yes.
I'm a horrible speaker. But then it hits your sexual areas, and it causes those vibrations in your body, which is more of the raping. And that's caused by a nerve generator. So they use a tone for the nerve generator to connect to your brain, and then it travels to the location where they are hitting. That usually in the sexual experiences, I have found out that there are more microchips involved than not, because usually they could install the particles or the nanotechnology or the chips and sensors inside, like IODs or IUDs for women and their menstrual cycles and the shots and things to regulate their periods. So that's where the chips and sensors come into play, because you constantly take birth control or you constantly do something to regulate that and keep it on a scheduled time. And I know men don't want to hear about this, and I apologize, but it's women and it's a fact of life. But that's how they normally do that, is through the nerve generator, and then it hits that specific area in the private area through the nervous system.
And, men are getting affected the same way but differently. So is it something that has been implanted?
That is more on the males. That is more electrical stimuli.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Because of the blood vessels and how that all operates with pulsating of the blood.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. You're so knowledgeable. Appreciate you. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Constance. St. Louis, Missouri. Go ahead, you're unmuted.
Yeah, hi, Frank. Hi, Amy. You mentioned earlier that you could use a white noise generator, I believe you said, to mask conversations. Did you mean conversations over internet phone, or just person-to-person conversations within a given space?
Usually a person-to-person conversation. Usually
really?
The eavesdropping device, the white noise generator, will travel up to a 150-foot space, or depending on the quality that you get, from anywhere from 50 foot to 150 foot. But yeah, from person-to-person conversations, I've never tested that on a phone. I don't have the money for a white noise generator. They could run anywhere from $250 to $2,500. So I haven't done that testing with the audio analysis to see if it could block that. That would be something I would need funding for, to try that. Or if somebody has it, make a recording and then send it to me, and I would be happy to do a study on that and see. Some things I could do on my own, some things I have to purchase to try out. So I wouldn't know, but I do know it blocks person-to-person.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have no more questions in the queue. So what I think I will do is open up the floor. Would you like to do that, Amy?
Sure, no problem.
All right. Okay. Are there any more individual questions? Okay, we'll open up the floor then. Okay, Amy, you can unmute, and anybody who would like to speak, if you have a phone, hit *6. If you do not have a phone, you have a computer, I think you know what to do. Just turn that microphone, click on it, and make it green, or actually blue. Okay, Amy's unmuted. If anyone would like to join and ask her a question, that's fine. We can still use Q&A format. It's just that the floor is open and she is more accessible. Go right ahead.
Hi, Amy.
Yeah?
Go ahead, Patricia.
My name is Gina. Hi, Frank, and hi, Amy. I want to know, my targeting is complete, seems like it's medical experimentation. Needles every day in the feet, in the arms, in the neck, in the hand, and the fingers. I want to know what type of equipment is being used for that.
I'm sorry, there was a little. So you have more electrical shocks?
Yes, everything is electrical, everything. Because I'm learning how to combat them with static control now. But everything is electrical, every single thing. And
they actually have a taser gun that they're using on you. A taser gun.
A taser gun?
Yes.
Taser like T-A-S-E-R?
Yes, ma'am.
I disagree with that, but
I've caught that on my at least 2 victims' audios.
Okay. What comes from Dr. Duncan is cellular cascading. This is the energy or the electricity passed from an entire grouping of cells to one location on the skin. Okay. I just put it in the chat. That's the only thing I've really disagreed with. Amy, you're doing a fantastic job.
There is different other ways. You have to picture it like an electrode, too. Like electrical fusion from that. That's electrical stimulation through the nervous system as well. So they have little taser guns that tie into electrodes that could actually cause those vibrating and electrical zapping effects too. I'm not doubting the cellular cascading. I will definitely have to look that up. But I know when they describe the weapon systems, usually the perpetrators, how this is organized through the human sex trafficking rings and the child sex trafficking rings and the human experimentations and everything like that too, is that people log into a hosting site. From there, they can pick different types of packages. Now, some of the different packages that I've captured is called the fire kit. Those cause the burning and itching sensations that everybody feels and uses. One is a soldier kit. That kit has to deal with the laser type weapon systems that they use inside of their hosting site. They have different types of audio programs. They have 4 or 5 different programs to use, like a law enforcement program where they are pretending to be officers, or an alien type program or a demonic program that they could use, and they pretend to be demons or Satanists, or they really are Satanists, but they can pick and choose different types of weapon systems, and one of those was a taser gun, to where they can electrocute a physical person with those types of weapon systems. So then they purchase those weapon systems or those packages, and what they do is they're given links to that room and that type of equipment, and they're able to give while they're live streaming the person, they're able to experience murdering somebody or physically raping them through their virtual stations.
Okay, well, how is the needles done? Because you know what? I have blood all over my pillowcases when I wake up in the morning. So how are they giving me, administering the needles? You know, and you know, cutting my hair and different things. Like, it's almost like I can feel their presence. I mean, I actually can feel their presence sometimes. How is this being done?
Well, if your hair is being cut, they're going to be drugging you, and they're going to be coming into the home and physically doing that to you while you're sleeping. There are ways to knock people out because of the tones and the high pitches to where a person faints through the technology, but physically, for them to be cutting your hair, I would change my locks ASAP. I would put window locks on all my doors, because they're not doing this with machines. They're doing this physically to you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I'm awake when they're giving me needles. I'm driving. I'm visiting people. I am awake. So this is wherever I go.
Well, then that would be the type of weapon system that they're using out of one of the packages that to feel like those needle effects are happening to your body system. I haven't captured anything specifically on that other than the taser weapon that they have. But each of our bodies are programmed also a specific way to feel specific effects too. So what you're feeling might not be, we also have different pain tolerances as well. So each person is going to feel it, whether it's the same technology or different technology, we're each going to feel it differently and describe it differently. So with the needle ones, I cannot say like it feels like a pinprick. That would have to be a specific type of weapon system, and I have not captured anything on that. So I apologize, but I don't know that answer.
Okay, because even I guess the evidence is the blood on my pillowcase or wherever I stay, and I wake up and I see blood spots. So
now, are the blood spots from different wounds on your body, or did you have a nosebleed and not know about it?
I have the needle marks all over my body. I have them. I have proof. My girlfriend has been taking pictures of them. As a matter of fact, I think I sent you some pictures a couple months ago. And but yes, and it continues. And
that so might be a laser. Have you measured them out? From one pinpoint to another?
When you told me to a couple months ago, I started trying to measure them out now when they take pictures. But the fact of the matter is, I've been on this call now, on these calls since January, and I have not heard anyone speak of the situation that I'm in. And I continue to ask questions, but no one seems to have the answers. And so, I thought that, I spoke to you a few months ago, but I thought maybe, it may have been different this time. But because it is definitely happening, and like I said, it happens while I'm driving. It happens when I'm visiting people, when I'm in the parks, or it's wherever they decide, and especially when they piss off. And I piss them off a hell of a whole lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. That might be a laser, but unless I do an analysis, I would not know exactly what type of technology that they're using. I apologize for that.
Okay, well, what kind of analysis would you be able to do on this?
They would have to be attacking you at that time, and then I would analyze it. I would do my subliminal acoustic technique, and I would analyze their telecommunications and see what type of weapon systems that they're using.
Yeah, I heard you say that earlier to one of the guys on the phone. But if the person knows that this is what's going on, do you think that they're going to attack us knowing that you are analyzing it at that time?
Well, neural links, we can use that, absolutely. Through the different names and the technologies and where they're hitting you with their weapon systems, we can prove Neuralink and BCI technology. Absolutely. I've done it with multiple victims. Probably out of the 300, I'd say about 85%.
Okay, because I can tell you exactly where the sensors, the chips, the nanos, I can tell you, I've been keeping a journal. I can tell you where I feel everything if you were to do an analysis. Every single thing they do, I feel it. So I know all the parts of my body, everything, where they have everything. And so you're saying that...
Well, that's actually part of my survey, to tell you the truth, is I have a victim fill out a survey, so what's happening at that time. So when I hear, oh, they're attacking me in my eye, they're attacking me in my left eye, I could focus on only those specific parts to where they're attacking you on your body system. Sometimes the person is wrong. It was their right eye and they missed and hit their left eye instead. So sometimes comments like that are made during the analysis process. But yeah, we could pinpoint the location of their body, because these people, these sex traffickers and serial killers, they love to talk about it. Oh, I hit it. I hit them. Direct hit. 1 point. A lot of them have played games in between. That's why some people are attacked more than others. It's because when they're using the different types of drones, they have 4 or 5 people on a team, and they will be constantly hitting their target and seeing how much points they get. They get more points for a deadly position and a marker as they're marking their body, and they get less points for a normal spot. So if they hit you in your vein, or if they hit you in your heart, or if they hit you in their head or kill shots are more points. They do it in a 3-point structure, kind of like a target. Like if you picture a dartboard, that's kind of how it is too. A 3-point structure, 1, 2, and 3. The harder shots, like the eye, is going to be more precision than hitting them in their left knee.
Okay. Well, it's, other things like, I'm constantly going to the library every week to look up some things. I've spoken to Constance and a few other, TIs, and I've gotten some information, especially with invisible cloaking. Now, one thing I know, that when I go to the library and I look up certain things, it's almost like I've hit a nail on the head, because that's when stuff really start happening to me, as though they're trying to persuade me from not looking at certain things. And I went to the library on Monday to look up invisible cloaking, and it seemed like it drove that person crazy. They poked at my heart. They did a lot of things. And so
now, let me tell you something about cloaking. If they're using a cloak to cover their body up, there's still going to be a physical entity behind that physical cloaking. That means you can still capture them. If they are using cloaking, try to put flour down on the floor. If the flour is all messed up on the floor, or if they're leaving a footprint or a trail behind, then it's a physical person and they're using a cloaking device. But otherwise, no, it's not going to be a person. A physical person is still underneath that cloaking device. You could reach out and touch them. You could reach out and hit them. Just keep that in mind.
Because I can feel some things. Like when they're putting something in my head, sometimes I'll reach up and I feel it. I can feel it, and then it's gone. And so it's just so many different things going on, you know, like with the birds and the bees and the insects, you know, in my neighborhood. I see them, and even my neighbors see them too sometimes, but I see them come. It's almost like they come and they disappear, then they come and they disappear. It's a lot of stuff that I just don't understand is going on. But
if they're coming and going, that means they're leaving a residual within their movement. And if you have that on video camera, you could break that down by, this is another portion of my forensic analysis, breaking down the video frame by frame. You break it down by frame per second. So on average, it's 30 seconds per frame. So, and then you analyze each and every single one to show the moving of that person. But it's still a physical person behind that cloaking device.
Okay, but I'm just trying to now figure out how they're doing this with the birds and the insects and stuff like that, because I physically see them like coming out of nowhere and then going past me, and then, so is that like a hologram? So that's what I'm trying to figure out now. So
it could be. It could be a hologram. Holograms do exist. Holograms could look like a real person to you where you can't even tell the difference. Microsoft has some great videos on holograms if you watch them. So, yeah, it could be a hologram or it could not be, but a hologram still can't touch you or harm you physically.
Well, yeah, and I do know that, but like as I'm driving, like every time I make a turn, this person, they tracking me, and they want me to know that I'm being tracked. So then there's like two birds that fly by. You know, then when I turn another corner, two birds fly by. And so, but I've seen this where they come out of nowhere. They may not have expected me to see that at first. And somehow I've seen it. And so I'm just trying to figure out how they're doing these tricks or whatever, because I call them stupid tricks.
Yeah, they could be or they could not be, and it could be regular nature. Birds have migration patterns, and they also fly in flocks, too, whether they have a mate or whether they don't. Depends on what type of bird that is, whether they have regular migration patterns or not. But that is all taken into consideration. When you break it down, you could tell a physical hologram from the real thing based off of the pixels inside the video. If they've been altered, if there's extra pixels, if there's no pixels in it. So you can do the examination and make those determining factors whether it is a hologram or whether it's not.
Okay, so I just need to start recording stuff. And as far as pulling the person around me, the entity around me, I need to figure out how to show that.
Right.
All right. At a different time, can I call you again and talk to you offline so you can kind of guide me a little bit?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Anybody's free to call me at any time.
Okay. All right.
Except like 2 o'clock in the morning.
No, not that time. But thank you so much. You can kind of guide me as to where I am, because I'm seeing and feeling so much, and it's a lot, and I'm just trying to digest everything, which I have, and I'm combating this person to a certain, but not wholeheartedly.
Right. If it is a physical person and they're coming into your home, try putting flour down on the ground. Those will leave footmarks and footprints and smear marks, and you would know if you had an extra layer or if they added some or took it apart and stuff. So you could always try that.
Well, the thing is, I have 5 doors at my home. 5 doors. And I have those steel bars up against everything. When I go to bed at night, I'm barricaded in. So now I'm trying to find out when I'm here, how did they get in?
That they could, depending on your home. Do you have a home or an apartment complex?
I have a home.
Do you have an attic?
You know what? I do have an attic.
Have you ever put locks or anything on your attic or access panels?
Oh, no, but you know what? That's a good idea. That's something I may have to look into tomorrow. to put the locks on it, on the outside of it. I hadn't thought of that. So thank you for reminding me, because that's the only entry. All of my windows are locked, all of them. Every single window on every single floor, they're locked. And so that may be the only, I mean, my thing is, my home is, God, is a high house. It's a big high. I don't know how they would get up there without me hearing them climb up the roof or whatever.
Do you have any trees?
Nope, I don't have anything around my house. I'm sitting up on a hill, but nothing around. Except for the house next door on the other side, and the homes across from me.
Yeah, usually even if they jump, they would leave like a thumping noises or something like that. People are tricky. There's people, CIA agents that are paid to be stealthy, you know. You'll never know they're coming. But it is possible through the ceiling or the attic, the venting systems, different types of venting systems. Also depends on the state and the regions on how houses are built, too. Like in Florida, we don't have basements, but everything is in the attic. So, but most of the open accesses to the attic are outside.
Oh, okay. And I'm just saying, when I was having something done to my house and the guys had to go on the roof, it took a tall ladder to get up there, and I could hear them on the roof. Even when the guy was fixing my side, I mean, I could just hear. I can hear them. So, well, like you said, there could be stealth involved, but that's a hard call, you know. It really is. So, but anyway, that's a good idea. I will go ahead and put a lock. You have someone out to put a lock on that. You know.
Okay.
Okay. But thank you so much. I'll just give you a call and we can talk a little bit more later.
Okay, that sounds great.
All right. Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I have a question. Can you hear
Sure.
me? I'm from Anchorage. That was a good idea about putting flowers on the floor, because I've get my house is broken and or my apartment, they come in, and before they used to put powders or gray powders all over my computers and stuff, and they'll leave their fingerprints, so they do leave a print.
Now, the thing about fingerprints, let me tell you how to collect a fingerprint. Do you know how to?
No.
Okay, so basically what you do is you buy a index card, glossy index card that's plain, that has no lines on it, and then you buy a blush or a blush and a blush brush, and then you take the brush, you dip it in the blush, sorry, it gets a little confusing, but then you sprinkle it on top of the fingerprint. Then what you do is you take packing tape, like a little roll of packing tape to that size of that fingerprint, and you put it right down on top of that blush, and you put it on top of the index card, and you got yourself a fingerprinting kit.
Okay.
And when you're using glass, like on your window frames, you could hold a flashlight on the side of the window pane, and it will show you the fingerprint marks all over the windows.
Well, I know they're coming in physically, because lately they've been just diluting all of my, health stuff. They dilute it all to all water for my, what is this, sun cream, the pH, high pH. Well, they made it into water.
Now,
they also dumped my hair shampoo. I had about maybe 4 inches of it left, and I use it sparingly. And when I went to refill it to another bottle, it was all water. And they did this with other stuff. Now,
you can get the water tested for free if a lot of people think that they're being poisoned or they're putting chemicals into their water systems, you take a sample and you bring it to a pool spa or somebody that does pool water, and they'll run it through their machine and they'll tell you what chemicals are in that pool water for you. And
there aren't too many pools in Alaska, but yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you. And also, you mentioned nerve generators. Now, I like to get it down to the very simple fact here about the term you used, nerve generators. Are they used as from a software, or is it from RF signal, or is it from laser? How are they used to attack the targets?
99% is RF frequencies.
RF frequencies.
Yes.
Okay. And
they're using an FM radio bandwidth.
Yes. Okay. So that's good to hear, and that coincides with what Helena Zorba is saying in her petition. Now, you also use the term electrical impulse to stimulate men. Now, if we're in the apartment, from what Helena Zorba said, electricity or electronics cannot go through the walls and hit us with this type of electric impulse. Well, she didn't say electric impulse, but electricity and electronics does not go through the walls. However, she said RF signals, they go through the walls very easily. So are you saying that this electrical impulse that's used against men are used outside of our apartment?
Or whether you have electrical devices in your house. You have to remember everything like IoT devices, Internet of Things, right? Even a mobile device, computer chips, anything with a chip, a sensor, speakers, anything that has Bluetooth capability, those all have built-in radio frequencies in there because they have to conduct signals to one device to another. So they could even be brought in from your house. The ceiling fan, they use radiation, or they can conduct radio frequencies and signals too. Well, that's more dirty electricity, but that's because they're using the smart grid system. Like 5G for the electrical stuff. That's why it goes into your appliances, and you guys say that our appliances are talking to you. Well, that's just because it was developed in the coil system of that appliance. In order for that generate, that was actually developed by the Department of Defense during Obama's era with the Energy Efficiency Act.
Okay, so the electrical impulses that are attacking the men, so that what you're saying is that they may be using the IoT hardware in our apartments and homes. Is that right?
Right.
Okay, so it would be good to disconnect these hardwares when we go to sleep.
Absolutely. I suggest everybody before they go to bed to even turn off their internet and Wi-Fi. If anything is a power source, turn it off. You don't need it. So unplug your microwave, unplug your coffee maker, unplug your stove, unplug your washer and dryer unit. You could turn off all your fans so there's no power for it. Your AC is a little bit different. Some people like it really cold, can't sleep without it. Some people can. Get something that's battery operated and not supplied by a power source. So I suggest that everybody turn, even when you're leaving the house, you want to make sure that you disconnect your internet and Wi-Fi and turn it off. Otherwise, people are able to access it at any given point in time.
Oh, that's a great idea. And another term that you mentioned, I just want to get clarity on this. You use the term, or someone asked you about remote neural monitoring, and I've heard that those terms used quite often, but I haven't heard how this is done against the targets. Is it done by RF, or is it done by laser? Is it done by satellite? Because remote neural monitoring can be done, from what I've heard from Helena Zorba, that could be done by pulse microwave radiation. Radio frequency
now, whether
radiation.
Satellites are used or not, they're still connecting to a satellite dish using radio towers and radio frequencies for that connection. So that's why radio frequencies are still used, whether they're using satellites or not. The satellite is just a component to make that connection to another digital device. But they need those radio frequencies so they can transmit and receive the signal from one device to another.
Right. And also, she mentioned, now this is her conclusion at this point, that pulse microwave RF radiation is from a radar gun connected to a computer. And the computer, this radar gun, since it's pulse microwave, they could see through the walls into your homes. And they could see everything you're doing. That's what she says. They could pull up a chart in their software, your whole physiology, the brain, the whole body, your skeletal structure, or specific parts of your body to attack.
And that has to deal with the medical equipment and the software that they're using within that computer system.
Yes.
But they still have to connect through a remote access to collect that data and information.
Yes, but what are they doing in real time when they're attacking us, as they're watching the charts? For instance, I'm getting clobbered in my head right now lately, so they have a picture of my brain, of my head. And so in real time, they're pushing some kind of button or something to attack that part or those points of the brain?
Yes. Well, once again, it depends on what type of device that they're using on you. But yes, whether they're using a drone or a weapon system, the group actually gives them access to a link after purchasing it. So then a link, usually like to picture a link like a URL, goes strictly to that device. So then when they click that device or aim the device at that person, they get to feel like they're attacking the person in real life, and then the perpetrators are collecting the data and information behind the scenes. So from that precision. So they use the links to connect remotely to that device to cause it to the effects on your bodies for the attack.
So there is a step-by-step process. It's not like something very immediate. They're taking some steps to get to that point.
It does take them a lot of steps to get to that point.
Okay, another question, follow-up question on what you just said, is that drones. I don't personally haven't seen any drones, maybe one, but how are they? Are they RF? Are they using RF signal or as well?
Everything is using RF signals. So whether it's satellite, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, all of it uses RF signals to attack. Even, like I said earlier, satellite systems still have to travel from one device to another. So when they're transmitting the signals, they use a tone generator, like using radio frequencies to connect to it. That usually has a chip and sensor to where the satellite could connect to. So everything uses RF signals, and everything is built around RF signals.
I see. Okay, and I guess that's all the question I have, and I may have another one later on, but thank you very much for clarifying all this, because, you know, there are many terms flying around, but basically they're all using RF signals. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Amy. How are you? Oh, good.
I'm doing well.
Amy. Oh, good. I have a question. What is the what they use on me? When I'm sitting on my computer, I feel like my brain is pulling, or I would say electrical shock, or what I feel like they're pulling, like my brain is pulling out. And they use it every 50 seconds in my forehead, in my forehead and my back of my brain.
So that would have to deal with the nerve generator again. If it's going directly from the back of your brain, which is the brain stem, and it's on a triggered system, that would have to be through the nervous system. And somebody is pulling that trigger behind that, too.
It is well, I know it's manipulating my nerve system and to increase my heartbeat. However, what the damage is in my brain, or what kind of damage will be in my brain if they use that?
It could be small tissue damage, cellular damage. It could lead to damage of the memory cells too. That leads to Alzheimer's and things of that nature. There's too much to go over on a medical basis, but in all, when they're electrocuting you and frying, they're pretty much frying your cells.
Okay.
And radio frequencies could even cause cancer, even when directed at a specific area, like cervical cancer or like breast cancer and things of that nature. Why? Because that directed energy weapon system is focusing on that one part. So it just depends on what type of weapon system that they're using to determine what type of damage that it's actually causing.
Because
a way that you can figure it out is an fMRI. It's called a frequency MRI. And what it does is it breaks down your brain, and it will actually pinpoint the exact locations of your brain that the perpetrators are hitting you at.
That's what I feel every time that I wasn't sitting on the computer. They were like pulling my brain from my back of my head. And I feel like electrical shocks, and then they put me like numb emotion and put me asleep. Or in that way, I feel.
Do you have tinnitus?
Yeah.
So that would probably be a tone generator, and then you probably have a chip inside your body.
Okay. All right. I don't know. Okay. That's good to know. Maybe I can check, but there's anything that I can check the chip in my body, or there's any way?
There is a person out in Colorado that does it. His name is John from AAA Security System. He's been doing scans and proving thermal imaging for people. Other than the audio analysis, I have captured chips of them connecting two chips into people's bodies. But John is the only one that I know that does scans. Frank, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say that fMRI stands for actually functional MRI.
Oh, thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Okay. And once again, Amy, can I talk to you? I know that you said any time. Can you give me your phone number once again, please?
Sure. It's 815-307-4619.
4629.
4619.
Oh, 19. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you very much for everything.
I'll put it in the chat room.
All right, thank you
I have
very
a
much.
strong Chicago accent, so I apologize if you guys don't hear me properly.
Tattoo Joe, what's up?
Not much.
What are you doing today?
I'm just answering people's questions.
Good for you.
Marcus, this is a special guest. Thank you.
I've got a question. It's a little bit off topic, but it kind of pertains to me being targeted. What they do is they continually throw stuff in my YouTube feed. That's how I found out about the community, because they wanted me to know. But anyway, there's something, the last thing I need is a new thing, and I don't need a project, but apparently they want me to buy this audio exciter that you attach to something like a piece of foam or wood or something like that and make a speaker out of it. Do you guys know about that, and is that a really bad idea to have it in the house?
Yeah, that emulates bone conduction.
You know what it is then, yeah. So only old school speakers.
Yeah. If you really want to blow their mind, hook the outputs of that up to the common and the ground in one of your receptacles.
Okay, so maybe I should get it just to monkey around with it.
Yeah, well, you can do that. It's not going to hurt you. As for your YouTube feed, Google has AI that actually runs.
No, I know about that. I read Shoshana Zuboff's book. I know all about that, but yeah, I know all about that. But they're putting stuff in. They actually broke into a talk show. They broke into a talk show. Whatchamacallit? Meeting. They got in my Google account and they were pretending to be me. Okay, and I knew it was them. Another thing that they did that was really cool was I got this threat. My line was open on my YouTube or on my Google phone, and you could hear the phone. It didn't. There was nothing except background noise, but the transcription, they changed it to dead. Yep, dead, dead, dead. Thursday, dead. Well, that came and went, but somebody lost 2 people that particular week. So, so yeah, they break into anything computerized. But, you know, I could give up the computer and all the electronics, but they'll just find something else to screw around with me with.
Well, that's actually, I have a solution for that. And
go on.
That's the live USB I was talking about earlier. What this does is you plug it into your computer system, and it's an actual different operating system. So it's an encrypted operating system where they can't access and gain access to that information, so they won't be able to hack you anymore.
Okay, until they wake me up at night and I allow them in. And then they'll mess with that. It's like last night I had a dream. I was out mowing the lawn, and there was grass all over my hammock that I sleep in. So, yeah, you know, it's I don't know how they're waking me up. Somehow or another, they're waking me up, and they're having me do stuff in my sleep, and I can remember some of it, but not all of it. It's like a dream. So maybe if I'm thinking there's only a few ways they could trigger me, and some of the ways they could trigger me is probably a sound or light or a smell, or maybe they vibrate the whole house to trigger me, you know, but that's kind of how it is. I believe I'm under some type of hypnosis. It's unfortunate. So anyway, I'll mute and listen.
Okay, does anybody have a question for Amy? She's here for you guys.
Amy, could you please repeat your...
Go ahead.
Could you please repeat your phone number again, please?
Sure. It is 815-307-4619.
4649?
4619.
Thank you so much. I'll mute now. Thank you.
Killer.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Anonymous.
I was wondering if there's like a safe place to go, like to get away from all this, like in a basement or.
No.
Yeah, I'm going to say no on Frank, too. There is a place out in Pennsylvania, I believe. What was it?
Well, I can't go out there. I have family and stuff here. Where are these attacks coming from? Is it all these cars that are going by, or drones, or is it really just satellite?
No, it's actually a combination of all of them. Depending on the type of weapon system that they're using on you, it could be anything. The way that vehicles work is that the vehicles have built-in chips and sensors into the vehicle. So they're monitoring the starter, they're monitoring the radio, they're monitoring the fuses, they're monitoring your tire pressure. There's about 11 to 20 different types of chips and sensors inside your vehicle. So with the radio frequencies, once again, they need a tone generator and able to connect to those vehicles and to those chips and sensors that are inside those cars. So once they connect it, they can gain access to the radio station, and they could actually start transporting their voices through the stereo system too. So that's usually how vehicles work from that aspect. But everything is radio frequency connected, whether it's a satellite signal, because the satellites, they have to connect to other dishes and other devices too. So they send that radio frequency signal to that other device, and they're able to use and connect to it for the attacks. So all of them are using radio frequencies. They're just different ways that they're using the radio frequencies in order to connect and make the attacks. The attacks isn't coming directly from the satellite. It's connecting to a different device that connects to you and makes the attack.
What if you don't use your radio in the car and you have it off all the time?
It doesn't matter. The newer models in the vehicles, chips and sensors were starting to put in your vehicles back in 2020 or back in, 2000. My bad. But that's when they did the whole cash for clunkers, get those cars off the streets and things of that nature, to where people cannot work on their vehicles anymore because it's all through chips. And you have to be an engineer pretty much to read the chips and to reprogram them and reset them to get those vehicles to run.
Thank you, Amy.
So, like, do you have any advice? Like, should I stay at home? Should I not go to the stores? Like,
I do not tell anybody to stay at home. If you are staying at home, you are a better target than you are when you're out moving around. How hard is it to hit a moving target? Pretty hard. So that's why most of the people are attacked at nighttime, is when they're lying down and they're still and they're in one spot in one location. So when you're moving and transporting and going from one place to another, you're actually costing them 10 times more money because they have to send out stalkers to stalk you. They have to communicate and have teams following you around. They have to pay for a movie theater to go see the same movie as you. So they actually cost them more money when you're out and about. I know a lot of people live in fear, and you have to get out of that fear state. And I know it's a lot easier said than done, because when it all started with me, believe me, I was hiding in a corner in the closet with a knife in my hand, and I had no idea what was going on. And I was too scared, and I didn't even sleep for 7 days. But the best thing you could do is get a good straight 8 hours of sleep every single night and get up and live your life. Do what you want to do, and do not hide in fear from these guys. Because other than their weapon systems, they are not allowed to physically touch you. And if they do physically touch you, they will be arrested on that spot. So that's why they take small items when break into your home. They're causing that fear factor for you to feel like you're not safe in your own home. They want you to stay home. They want you to feel isolated. Get out, go into the sun, go to the beach. Vitamin D is amazing for people. The sun and the rays are amazing on your body, and it regenerates your whole entire self from your head to your toes. So get out and do not stay in a reclusive position. If you like to paint, go outside and paint. I know it's hard for some people, but you got to get active and start moving around. I know that's easier said than done for most people, and a lot of people go through a lot of hard stuff. And, I've dealt with break-ins.
Amy, I'll be right back.
And things like that, too. But you can't. You just got to carry on and push forward and find the evidence that you need, because these guys are going to slip up. They're going to make it known, and like it is being released now in the news medias and the outlets and everything going on, it's coming out, people. Believe it or not, it's going to be coming out in the next couple of years. I believe it. wholeheartedly. And the big thing is about even TI Day. TI Day is August 29th, people. Go out, find the nearest area that is going to be holding an event. If nobody is holding an event, hold one yourself, whether it's holding up a sign in your front yard or whether it's bringing awareness, knocking on doors to your next door neighbor. TI Day is coming up. Frank, I believe, is holding one too. August 29th. I'm holding one down here in Florida. People are out in New York, I believe. There's some out in Virginia. There's California is having one. Arizona is having one. Texas is having one. I believe Australia. We're working on people in the UK, Argentina, Spain, and Mexico are all involved too. So get out, meet your local providers who are running it and hosting it. Talk to Jamie Wilson, talk to Frank from Massachusetts, talk to Ella Free, PAX International. They're all going to be holding events. So try to get that information from out you guys and get out and bring awareness.
Why not? We're sitting right there. Where are you need a cadence for? You fucking Jew kids are hitting on by there.
I don't know if you are holding one, Frank. I didn't know if I was out of line. Are you holding one? I thought you joined our calls on Tuesday night and was talking about it. Oh, he said he left.
What call were you on Tuesday night when you were talking about these TI data on August 29th?
They're with Jamie from New York, Jamie Wilson. I believe that's her last name.
Oh, okay. That's Jamie's call on Tuesday night. Is that at 9 o'clock?
Hers is at 9 o'clock. We have our meeting around 6 o'clock, and we just keep everybody updated, how many people, what we have planned, different flyers that are going out that we sent. We got the T-shirt designs already. Posters and banners are all designed as well. So we meet at 6 o'clock. All of us do on Tuesdays.
And so that's not for the general public. It's just for you guys who are planning it?
No, that's for the general public. You could come on and listen to us. If you don't want to be involved, I suggest you keep yourself on speaker, but it's open for free. Janie holds that conference call on the same channel. She holds her 9 o'clock one, and it's just keeping everybody updated on where we're at, what we're doing, and what we have planned for that day, and how many people are going to be showing up. We've been sharing lists with each other. Contact lists and things like that, trying to get more people involved.
Great. Okay. We're with you, New York, New York. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Amy?
Yes?
Hello? Hello?
Hi, go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, we could hear you.
Oh, okay, fine, thanks. I have a question for you. My son has been targeted for many years, and he one of the things that occurs is that they are able to put him into a type of daydream state. What causes that?
Well, the daydream, does he have any other signs and symptoms?
Oh, yes. Oh, many. Yes, he's definitely a targeted person. He's been targeted for probably 18 years.
Okay. Now, does he have any of the V2K or anything like that?
He did have V2K for many years, but it has almost subsided. He gets hypnotized. He says that they hypnotize him a lot. They use triggers with him. They do remote the neural monitoring, and there are two things that I wanted to ask you about. One was the daydream states, and the other is he gets tremendous anxiety, and he'll hardly leave the house. So I
now the anxiety is actually caused by the triggers of what they're doing to him. He says that it is subsided, but V2K never goes away. You know, what they can do is they could change their volume down to where it seems like they're not there anymore, but they're still there physically. So when they're hypnotizing him and putting him in those trigger states, that's what's causing the daydreaming effects to him. It is like a hypnosis side effect. What I could suggest for you and what I've done personally, I've done this on a personal level. I actually took an equestrian class to deal with triggers and PTSD because they have horses have triggers too, just like humans do. And you learn how to deal with these triggers in a specific manner and learn how to control them a little bit better. So equestrian training is really bonding with an animal, and sorry, I'm tearing up because it was emotional thing, and it really did help. Especially being a military veteran and things like that, triggers are spontaneous, but it teaches you how to overcome them, like horn honks and things like that, to where you can't, and it releases some of that anxiety.
I see. Okay, fine. Thank you very much. I appreciate your help.
I got time for one more, and then I have to take off.
Okay. Thank you very much. One more question for Amy.
Hello. Hello.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi,
this is Deb in St. Louis. How are you?
Doing good, Deb. How are you? I think we've chatted before, haven't we?
Yes, we have. You were mentioning about unplugging your appliances. I have a gas dryer, not dryer, but stove. And I unplug everything, except I haven't unplugged that. Is it harmful to unplug it from the wall? I mean, I don't disconnect the gas, obviously, but...
No, not the electricity portion. That just means it's not going to turn, because all of the appliances have like a power on and power off source to it, right? Whether the knob is turning it on to gain the heat and turn your Bunsen burner on, or the sheet. So as long as it doesn't have power to on it, none of those electronical devices will work.
Okay, all right.
But as long as you don't unplug the gas, you'll be okay. Don't mess with the gas line. Because your appliances are, especially like dryers and stoves run off of a 210, right? You have a 110 and a 210. So that's actually producing 10 times more power than the 110. So you would want to make sure that that specific one is unplugged.
Okay. Thank you very much, Amy, for joining us this evening, and I really appreciate it. And speaking for the rest of the listeners, I know they appreciate it, and I would definitely, Marcus, I would definitely like to have you back, and whenever you want to come back.
That sounds great, Frank. And I know me and you are going to be doing a podcast next week for out in New York on Janie's shows, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
I'll make sure to come back, and whenever I find new information, I'll always send it to you on different types of equipment and technology that I discovered during the analysis process too.
Great, because I wanted to let you know that we are a human rights 501c3, and we can get certain items donated to us if we ask. So this might be something that you're interested in.
Yeah, that would be great. I appreciate that.
And we have a research arm that we're allowed to use, so that in purchasing research equipment, I would have to purchase it through the Allen Institute and then sell it to you. But at the same time, if something is donated in whole, we would have to sell it to you for whatever value we come up with from 3 sources.
Okay, that would be great. You know, I'm always looking for doing different types of experiments and things like that. Like I said, we're working on. My friend Michael is trying to deconstruct the EMF paint. So far, he's found out that aluminum, copper, and graphite we're actually going to be trying charcoal next. A big helper on it.
Because there's going to be dissimilar metal problems, or are these problems what you're using? Because they will react, the aluminum and the copper.
Right, and you have to buy foil strips. That way it doesn't cause any fire.
All right. What I wanted to ask you is, have you researched the new product that's been put out for the diplomats? It's called capital M, capital X, ENE. It's actually a carbon-based solution that forms platelets, or tiles, if you will.
No, that's the first time I've ever heard of that. And you said it was MXEME?
ENE. Yes. ENE. N as in Nancy.
I will definitely have to look into that. I know Michael has used carbon before in the EMF paint. Our biggest problem is buying all the products and then testing all the products. Like, one victim is going to be different from another victim. So we don't have the people that we want to test the products out on. So a lot of that is just like buying the products and giving it to a person, but at the same time, it all costs us probably like $60 to $100 to buy all the products and to have them do it and test it out. So,
a control group, I can give you names. Marcus, this is a very important call. I really don't like you interrupting every 2 seconds. Thank you. Have a cup of coffee, Marcus. Okay, I lost my whole train of thought. I'm sorry. But try and research that. It's capital M, capital X, ENE, but, you know, you can look it up that way. Just Google it.
Yeah. Thank you, Frank. I will definitely look that up. Thank you for the information. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. And get in touch with me sometime during the day, maybe late tomorrow, and then we can have a chat.
I will try. I have to fly out to Wisconsin tomorrow. The plane lands probably around 8 o'clock. I had a recent death in the family. So, no, that's okay.
Why don't you get in touch with me after that's concluded?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, and sorry for your loss.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I have to go. I hope everybody else has a wonderful evening.
Good night, Amy.
Ouchie scrub.
Marcus, you're 2 seconds away from being ejected from here. I shouldn't have to keep speaking with you. Okay, we still have 67 people here, and it is 12:04. We'll be here roughly until 1 or after, depending upon who would like to speak, who wants to stay, and who leaves. So, we had some very interesting conversation with Amy, and some of it I agree with, some of it I disagree with. The only thing I can say that I would disagree is to stay within her realm of knowledge and to say this may be what's happening, this might be what's happening, instead of saying that, okay, this is it, you know, because simply they try and stay away from 12 volts if they can. They are best acclimated in AC, not DC. But the floor is open.
Hey,
we need some people. Yes.
Hi, this is Gina. I was the one talking about the needles earlier. And you mentioned cellular cascading. Can you explain that to me?
Okay, it's something that starts. I'm not sure how they started, but it is a series of cells. Cascading obviously means like a wave. Well, this wave is going from one side of your body to the other and picking up electricity from each cell that it passes. And when it gets to the desired point, that's where you feel the shock. And you will actually feel it, and and you will hear it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm going to look into that a little bit more the next time I'm doing my research. Thank you.
Yeah, just Google cellular cascading. You'll see many, many articles on it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I have a question. I was wondering if anyone remembers what her number was. I got 815, but that's all I got.
Okay, let me see if I'm sure it's in the chat somewhere.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know why I'm unable to access that on my phone.
Okay, her phone number is 815-307-4619.
Thank you.
Would you like her email address?
Yes, please.
Okay. Amy's Audio at Proton Mail, and she spells it this way: AIMESAUDIOS at protonmail.com. Wow, this night has really flown by, I'll tell you.
Whatever I do, I want Loki.
Hey, Frank, this is Gina again. I have one more question for you.
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay, someone was talking about the proton mail some time ago. It's been a while, but what makes that better than the other mails, emails, or whatever?
Simply this: it's location. Okay, after the location, it's not really much different. And that's the truth. It's located, I believe, in Sweden, and it's inside a mountain. But once you get outside that mountain, it has to deal with all of the same negative attributes that all of the other email accounts do.
Okay.
I got tongue-tied. I'm sorry.
I was just wondering because I think I heard Ella mention it, and one of the.
Well, it is good. You can. It's actually locked, if you want it to be, I guess, until it reaches its destination. I have a Proton account, but I just have not used it. I have a Proton account so I can unlock the mail that comes to me encrypted. That's a good feature.
Okay.
But some of the other people have such great email encryption that you really don't need to do that.
Okay.
I know people don't like to mention Google and they don't like to use Google, but it has one of the most fantastic encryption programs that I have ever seen.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Yeah, it does.
I had no idea, but okay, maybe I'll look into that too. I thank you so much again.
Certainly. And if anyone is looking for an email service that is really great, there is one out there called mail.com. They're one of the first email companies besides, America Online. So AOL is still out there, but I hear people have nothing but trouble with it. Either they can't get in or the mail disappears. I hear all different kinds of things happening with AOL mail. But a lot of people seem to have had it for years.
I know when I first started out with email, probably more than 30 years ago, that was one of the main email things out there. I didn't even know it still existed.
Oh yeah, it still exists. Juno is another one. Juno started out as a free email service, and then they started charging, and now it's gone back. I guess it's free again.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay. I didn't know because I had that too. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the information. I appreciate it.
Sure. Okay, we still have 64 people. Hi, Michael. How you doing? Okay, we have Anonymous, Michael from Alaska, and Carol Lee in the active area. Yeah, what I would like to comment on is the V2K, the way I hear it, is exactly the way you would hear somebody speaking, okay? And the only video that I've seen that actually depicts V2K is coffee house background noises. And it will place one person at 11 o'clock, another person at 3 o'clock, someone doing dishes at 8 o'clock. That is how V2K actually appears. Let me see if I can look up that video. I used to have it on our site, but for some reason I think it's gone. But that's a true depiction of V2K. I've got it, I believe. And you don't have to have an involved system to listen to this. You can listen to it on a simple set of headphones. Those of you who don't have V2K can actually listen to what it sounds like from somebody who does. And it's actually listed under ASMR, or ASMR, I'm sorry. Let me see if I can grab the link for you. Okay, it's coming to the chat now. But it is a very good depiction of V2K. It's the best I have ever heard. I hope they have not changed it. Okay, does anybody have any questions on what Amy was speaking about? Because I am familiar with most of it, except for I do not get into the forensic. Go ahead. Marcus. Marcus, I want to really hand it to you. You have blemished one of our best recordings with BS, okay? So, you know, please don't do that again, and don't come on here inebriated, okay? God.
Hey, excuse me. I was wondering if you remember what technology she said is used when they with like burning and itching on the skin.
Burning and itching on the skin. I'm not sure what technology she says is used. Okay, a lot of people will say that it's chemical, but what they can give you are impulses.
Oh.
Well, I will call it this, a pre-recording of what you have. This is coming from Dr. Robert Duncan as well. And it's coming from my own experience. My own experience is a couple months under 10 years. And I have had V2K the whole time. It never stops, it never goes away. It is always around the room. When in the car, it is usually in the back seat or up in the back window. And it does not go away in the car like an FM radio station. It stays with you from state to state to state to state. And believe me, I've put it to the test. I have not gotten on a plane yet, but that's my next operation, to see how it is in a plane. I mean, we have Brian, too, out there, who flies all over the world, but I have found a few kinks here and there. So I'd like to do it myself. And I have actually stayed on the ground pretty much because of being a TI. But now I'm going to fly for the same reason. I have to, I look at everything, not negatively, but I like to try and debunk something. Rather than embrace it, I will try and debunk it first, and if I can't find any holes in it, I'll embrace it as well. And that's just the way I am. And it's actually, you don't want disinformation running around the community. So when somebody comes up with something new, ask questions. Ask, where did you get this information? who gave you this information? And if it comes from, I don't know, some source like, I don't know, I can't even think of a name. But make sure the source is good, that's all. Yeah, I'm going to grab some coffee. The mic is open. I'll be back in about 3 minutes. And like I said, we will be here until 1 or after. And Marcus, you're gone as soon as I get a hold of you. Don't come back tonight. Believe me, don't come back tonight.
Frank?
Yes.
Does Marcus just have, like, a problem finding his mute button or *6 when he's inebriated?
He has a problem finding "I've had enough" button. Okay.
No, I mean seriously, because if he could just could find that button, then it wouldn't matter what he.
No, he's doing it on purpose.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, never mind.
And I don't like to see. People put a lot of time into presentations, and we don't need the recording of it blemished by someone that's just cutting in with BS.
Yeah. Okay, never mind. Thanks for answering.
So where was I? I think I was just telling everybody to question everything. That's the only way you're going to get to the bottom of it. If you settle for every answer that you hear, you'll have a pile of convoluted paragraphs. So what you have to do is get to the bottom of everything. Be a good detective and a good researcher, and you'll do well. You'll figure it out. And I always continually look for people to research. And I tried it, but I didn't get any answers back. So there's a lot of people that maybe are too targeted to even research. Well, I'm very targeted. I still research. So, but anyway, I will be right back. The mic is open. Grab it and enjoy.
I'm gone.
Hey everybody, it's Kat.
Howdy you?
Hanging in there, how are you?
I'm really fucked up by targeted individual perpetrators.
I am too. I am too, very.
Okay, once again, I'm back. Marcus, what are you doing?
Hey, yo, Frank, what's up, bro? How you doing?
Good. What are you trying to do? Just undermine the whole conference call or what?
No, I came in late, man. I was just trying to listen to your call.
Well, we had a guest. But anyway, hi, Kat. How you doing?
Hey.
What's happening?
Not much, Frank. Everything and nothing.
Everything. I know that feeling.
I know about this. I'm massively fucked up.
Okay, that's it. Marcus. Once again, good night. Don't come back until you sober up. Okay, anybody that would like to speak, ask a question, or present something, please speak up.
Yeah, does anybody have any ideas of how I can locate other TIs in Rochester? Because you know that there's perps on these phone calls, and I mean, I give out my home phone number without a problem, because if somebody ends up harassing me, I can just block them, so it's not an issue. Because I'd really like to meet some real TIs, but I've talked to 2 TIs on the phone already, and they weren't TIs. So
how far is Rochester from Buffalo?
It's about an hour.
Okay, Luda's in that area, in Buffalo area, I think.
An hour and a half. Who?
What? Yeah, Nancy.
Luda.
What? That's Frank.
Nancy?
Yeah, she was just saying, did you get in touch with Ella? That's a good place to go. But I'm right here. I can give you a list of all the TIs that I know of in New York. So,
okay. Yeah, can you email it to me, Frank?
I certainly will.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you.
We send out to 3,900 people, subscribers, all the time, like 3 or 4 times a week. So with ads and whatnot, and the Sunday newsletter. So yeah, we find out where they all are.
Great. Yeah, because I'd really like to join TI Day here in Rochester and bring it some exposure to this. But if I'm standing out there with a sign by myself, I'm just going to look like an idiot. And I'm going to end up in the hospital. So I need to have other people behind me.
You've been in touch, obviously, with Janie. So Janie is going to have an extensive list of everybody in New York, too.
Yeah. But she's in New York City. I'm like 3 hours from where she is.
My point being, callers in New York could be from Albany, Rochester, or wherever, and she's going to have a good list of people that are all over New York. Maybe she picked up.
Yeah, so I'm working on that right now. Yeah, I've been talking to Janie. She's been very helpful.
I was thinking about Alan, too. Alan is upstate New York, but I can't remember exactly where, but I've spoken to him on the phone and have his email. So he's in that neck of the woods. I just can't remember which town in upstate. Alan, all I know is his name is Alan. He doesn't talk much, but some of us know him.
But he's from New York?
No, he's upstate. Yeah, he's upstate New York somewhere.
Oh, if you guys ever see him again, can you ask him for me or give him my number?
Yeah. Well, are you saying you give it out on the call?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
I give out my phone number. I have nothing to hide with this. Okay. I want this bullshit taken care of. So Yeah, if I can connect with real TIs through this, then that would be great. Obviously, I'm going to talk to perps along the way because that's just part of their game.
Did you hear me mention Luda is near Buffalo?
Luda, okay.
But anyway, okay, I'll take your number down and pass it along to Alan. So hang on.
Great. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you want me to? Okay, it's 585.
Okay.
481 3008.
Okay, 585-481-3008.
Yes.
He might even be on the call now because he's actually on a lot of these calls. But I'll pass it along to him anyway. And
thank you.
And we all know Luda, so. But I'm not going to give
out
her number.
I don't know Luda, but thank you. I appreciate your help.
Yeah, Luda comes on every call, and if she doesn't stop talking, she's always listening anyway. So she might have even heard me say that, because she's in your neck of the woods. Okay.
Yeah, I wonder if Alan's the one who knows Mike Mason, because Mike Mason, someone was trying to find someone in New York, and Mike mentioned somebody named Alan. So I don't know whether he was the one that was located out near Buffalo.
The only thing I know, besides talking to him once or twice, is that Alan is originally from, like, Toledo, I think, or somewhere in Ohio. And then somehow he's out in upstate New York now. That's really about all I remember. And I had a good conversation with him once. That's it.
Yeah, I think all I know about upstate New York is the amount of snow that's up there, lake effect snow.
Fucking annoying.
Okay, we've got a lot of silence here. I guess nobody wants to talk tonight. So we will end this conference call at 1 a.m. So Wednesday night, that's when we usually end, but I try to, if there's like 70 callers on, I won't end it at 1 a.m. But, since this is definitely thinning out, we'll end it at 1 a.m. tonight. We'll be back Friday until 4 a.m.
Frank?
Hi, Dorothy. How are you doing?
Okay. Did you ever have the opportunity to look through that stuff?
Yeah, I think I've looked through a lot of it, and I'm still halfway through putting the PDFs together that represent the page on one side and the page on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've looked at a lot of that. It's definitely worth turning in.
Okay. Is there a time we can chat?
Yeah, sure. Tomorrow sometime would be great.
Okay.
I've got a board member that's going to talk to me tomorrow sometime, but I have to find out for sure exactly when.
And do I call you just on your normal phone?
That's right. Yeah. 508-857-8334.
Hang on a minute. 508.
Yeah. Everybody in the world's got the phone number, so.
Give it to me again. 508.
Yep. 508.
Yep.
857-8334.
Okay. Very good.
All right. Yeah, and that's it's an interesting case that Dorothy has because she was in the service and really got what I would call the woman slap in the face, and more, much more, very much more. And it's a terrible thing, but that women go through. Get sexually assaulted, and it doesn't matter to the men in charge. Well, that's going to change very rapidly. And
well, there sadly was also men who were also assaulted as well. So, but yeah, you may want to even talk to Amy about that if you have not.
Okay.
Because she mentioned enough of the information that you have in front of you that, but I don't think she knows about that stuff.
Yeah, I think she's been in the service just about as long as you have. That's why I wanted to put you together.
Okay.
What did she have to say? Did you guys get along?
We haven't really talked. I think we talked a long time ago, but I was still trying to put pieces together.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it looks as though you've got it sewed up.
I've got a portion of it. I think there's a lot of people that have different portions.
Right. Amy would be, I'm trying to think what part of California she's in.
I thought she's in Florida.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about Amy from this particular...
Oh, got it, from the conversation today. Okay.
Right.
It's not
exactly.
tonight.
This woman, actually, Amy Holem was also in the
yes.
service.
Mm-hmm.
But Amy out in California was bounced around bad like you. That's why I wanted you to speak to her. Did I gave you her phone number. I know I did.
No.
Well, nope. I can't give that out on the air.
Not over the phone. We'll understand.
Yep, I can give you that tomorrow. Not a problem.
Okay. And is there a time you prefer me to call?
Like 3-ish, something like that.
Okay, will do.
All right, great. I'll be working as usual.
Well, I will. You can put me back on mute if you'd like and let somebody else speak.
Now, you can stay right there if you want. You might get someone else from the service who's been in the service that will, want to speak with you. Because there's a lot of women that have been terribly abused in the service.
Yep.
My cousin, I haven't seen for years, served in Iraq. And I have to get back in touch with her. I got to find her. It's ridiculous. Families split up because of this. That's not the case with my cousin. This has destroyed my family. It's destroyed many families, probably most of the people here.
I think part of the saddest of all this is that, by and large, the mass majority of people that I have met have always wanted to do the best they could, always wanted to contribute positively to our country, wanted to succeed, believed in the rule of law, believed that if laws were off kilter by simply not being able to foresee the future, that there was always a legitimate avenue of resolve. And yet we've come to find out that that's not the case.
Right. It's almost like all of them that I have heard are like G.I. Jane cases almost. Only
as in the movie?
Yeah, only not with the happy ending. We all know that story. It was very good. But it gave you a taste of, just a minor taste of what women go through. And some men, I guess, from what you say. But the men are a lot, I would say, a lot stronger and able to fight a lot better than some women. Some women are, you're as well trained as the guys are, but the guys are bigger and they're stronger. And taller. That's just some trace that I can think of, but women have been taken advantage of in the armed services, the armed forces for too long. Time to stop it.
Well, if you think about it from the beginning, right? Between even the story of Adam and Eve, Eve's always been blamed.
Oh, yeah. That kind of put it off to a bad start, didn't it?
I think so. Let's just say, for the sake until someone asks a question, if she did actually pick the apple, then why is she blamed for him chewing on the apple, swallowing the apple, digesting the apple, and defecating the apple? She's blamed for all of it.
Yeah. This is true. Of course, that's just a representation.
Yes. So I didn't get to hear your guest speaker from the beginning. Are you going to post this show, and when is it going to be posted so I can listen to the beginning of it?
I will have it up on YouTube probably, I don't know, in an hour or so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Amy's been on before. If you'd like to hear the previous conference call with Amy, that should be still up there. I don't believe it's been taken down or anything.
Frank,
Yes.
what's the YouTube channel that you're uploading these to?
Okay, let me see. It's targeted Massachusetts, but it doesn't sound like that. I think the only difference is a slash and a C. Let me see. I always forget it. Yeah, it's youtube.com/C/targeted Massachusetts. I lost out for about a year, a long time ago, because I thought the YouTube channel was targeted Massachusetts. I didn't realize there was that C designation. So they got the wrong link. And if you go...
Yes, it is a form of human trafficking. Whoever, CPAL, you're absolutely correct.
Oh, most definitely.
Scroll up and look at the links that I put for YouTube videos, because they're able to broadcast us using the EEG, and they can broadcast us, and they can broadcast through us, and they can broadcast as us, and that's how they can hear what we're hearing, and see what we're seeing. Because it's almost like they have a computer avatar of our bodies using our EEG scans. That's like the best way I understand it so far, because I'm just learning about it.
Well,
but I'll tell you what, I have felt like an avatar when they're using their weapons on me, and it's like they're taking control of my body with like a remote control. I know I have felt like an avatar. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, that's okay. It's been a bad, I'd say, 3 or 4 days for me, and I was just curious how it's been for everyone else. I know that one person, Jane, not Janie, but Jane, has been going through a rough time. But there's so many people.
Yes, Anchorage here.
Hi, people. How you doing?
Last 3 days, like you said, it's been horrific. They're just assaulting my head, so I could barely walk. And in addition to that, somehow I caught this cold or flu that I don't know what it is really. So I'm really weak, but I slept, like today, I slept, all day, and yesterday just about all day. I had my breaks here and there, but it seems like it's a standard procedure to hit everybody on days like this, on good days like this. But I just wanted to comment. Yes.
Oh, okay. Just out of curiosity, what was the weather conditions, and did you have your windows open? What were the conditions out in Alaska?
When I caught the cold, or when I got there?
The last 3 days. Has it been
weather condition was, very good. Sunny days, between 65 to 7, just a little bit over 70.
Okay.
Surprisingly good days. And they like to hit you when it's a good day, I think. This is from my experience. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to share what we've noticed out this way, and myself as well. It seems when the windows are open, that's when I get slammed the worst. When the windows
my
are
window,
with the air conditioning, it seems to be much better. And I said seems to be much better. It might not be the case with you, but it seems much better to me when the windows are closed and the air conditioning's on. Any comments?
Yeah, I mean, this horrific assaults and the headaches. I mean, the headaches are amazing. But also, I just wanted to balance that lady's point of view of Adam and Eve, because I don't want to let that go without giving my perspective. Woman, in my opinion, Eve was never blamed. It was the fault of Adam to eat the apple. I mean, it's just like anybody else teasing you and tempting you. And if you accept that temptation, it's your fault for doing it. So it is not, I mean, some people will use that against Eve, I guess. I don't know. But I've always thought that
the correlations as to what the apple was are most interesting, we'll say.
Yes, it is. It represents all kinds of stuff. But the temptation from Eve, it was not really Eve tempting him. There was a snake behind the Eve that forced her to do this. So, you know, they're both out of control, really. Because Adam fell for it, and after that, every Adam thereafter have failed Eve. Adam couldn't resist the temptation. The men couldn't resist the temptation. They fall for it. That's a simple way I look at it. And also the apple, when you eat of the apple, that has, in my opinion, some ramifications. But one of them is knowing the knowledge of tree of knowledge. You can know all the knowledge you want. That was a temptation. And the apple represent also the food, the actual food that was given from a woman to a man. That's my perspective, that's all. I just don't think Eve hasn't been targeted as a blame ever since that way. I'm sure people really, really believe that it was Adam's fault. Just like if we fall from a temptation to do something or say something, that's our fault. We don't have control. We didn't have control at that time. That's the way I look at it. I mean, it may not be popular, but that's it. That's all I wanted to say. And thanks for the call, conference call, Frank.
Oh, thank you for being here, Mike. That's a really clean, clear line. Of course, it's not like it used to be. I used to call the UK, and it was delayed by about a second and a half. But, yeah, the calls all the way out to Alaska. That's about the same as calling the UK, about 3,000 miles across the big pond. Okay, it's 12:54. I'm going to say goodnight a little early because I think everybody's tired. I know I am. And I will see you all Friday. God bless you all.
Thank you, Frank.
You're so welcome.